Let's get started.
Here we go. Now let's get it all in perspective. We did it like that, and now we do it like this. Do not attempt to adjust your dial. I'm transmitting live. Yo,
Let's get down to business.
now let's get it all in perspective. We did it like that, and now we do it like this.
All right.
For the underground world, every street and borough.
You may learn something.
You are now listening to the Joe Rogan Experience with Chico, Simon, Kamar, and your host, Matt Floyd.
Welcome. Oh my God. I'm dying. Welcome to the Joe Rogan Experience. My name is Matt Floyd, joined as always by Kamar.
Welcome to the party.
And Simon.
Hello.
What we do here is very simple. The three of us have listened to every episode of the Joe Rogan Experience this week. We're going to rate each episode as well as the week on a scale of 1 to 5 Jamie Vernons. We're then going to talk about each guest, the talking points, give our opinions, this, that, and the next. Kamar, no new patrons?
What are you talking about? There's always a new Patreon. Oh. Guys, give a big shout out to Joel.
Shout out Joel.
Joel, thank you, Joel. We
My
appreciate
man.
it.
Join the Patreon where we do the post show directly after the show. Only way to truly support the podcast. It's the post show. Like and subscribe, leave a comment.
I think listening every week does a pretty good job of supporting. But
Tickle the algorithm. Hit that notification button.
you want to go over the guests so we can do what we do here?
It's an eclipse tomorrow.
Yeah, we're in the path too, apparently, or whatever.
Well, we'll be discussing that in the post show.
Oh, that's titillating.
I'm on the edge of my
Like
seat.
NPR.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through this
Seriously.
whole fucking show knowing that we have that to talk about at the end.
We start off the week with 21-29 David Holthouse, followed by 21-30 Coleman Hughes. Week was interrupted by a MMA show. We don't do those. Followed by 21-31 Brian Simpson, and a surprise episode dropped on Saturday, 21-32 Andrew Schulz.
I think Joe needs to recognize that I think podcasts are more of a work listening thing. So dropping one on a Saturday is just fucking pointless.
If you got to review it on Sunday.
Well, I mean, it hurts us, definitely. But no, I'm just saying, like most people, Simon, you listen to them at work, right?
Yeah, and if you're listening all through the week, like let's say you're just a normal listener, not us, okay? Just a normal Joe Schmo out there. You listen all through the week. I don't think on your time, like he's saying, you're probably listening while you're doing other stuff. And then on the weekend, that's your time off and you're watching TV or whatever the fuck you're doing. You're not like, oh my God, Andrew Schulz, let me run to my, like,
Yeah.
unless it's like
Schulz fans are.
Elon or something, you know?
But I would say that most people are probably listening to this podcast on Monday or Tuesday.
Yes, you are correct.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
Good
you
point.
know what, Kamar?
Great point, Kamar.
Great point. Touche.
But
Kamar,
not me.
go fuck yourself because we're not a big fan of great
A
points.
normal
around here.
person would listen on Monday,
Yeah.
and then the new episode doesn't come out till Tuesday. So a Saturday drop is actually a Monday drop, and it blows this whole complaining
drop it
thing
on the
out of
Monday.
the water. Then just drop it on the Monday. But then it's not part of his other week, which I'm sure he gets like
Now it's part of the
credit
new week.
for.
Now, it's all part of a week.
It's all part of a week. That
Like-
touche, Matt. Touche.
All right. Well, what do we rate this week?
I give it a 3.5.
That's impossible, but I give it a 2. I give it a 2.5. I'm going to be fair.
Schulz brought it so down for me. So down. I guess, yeah, I'll match Simon's 2.5. 3.5 seems egregious. 3 seems maybe more correct.
3.5 seems like giving a 5 to the Black Keys. That's how egregious that seems.
No, the Black Keys are great. Joe loves the Black Keys. Everyone loves the Black Keys. The Black Keys love the Black Keys. Literally, everyone.
Did you say Blackie 5 times?
Yeah. Pablo Escobar's Hitman. Blackie.
21-29 David Holthouse. David Holthouse is a writer, producer, and director. His new docuseries, Krishna's Gurus, Karma, and Murder, is streaming on Peacock, so I'll never see it
Yeah.
because that is a bridge too far.
Well, I believe that Peacock streams on Crave.
No.
Prime. I'm sorry, Prime.
Oh, in Canada.
Yeah, we get it on like, because I'm watching some show right now that's on Peacock.
So I retract my statement.
Apples
Maybe
never fall.
I do want to see it. The weirdest thing is all the Krishna stuff.
Apples Never Fall. Kamar has the girl from Mad Men, Peter's wife. She was also she's super hot. She was also in Community. You know who I'm talking about?
Yes, I believe so. The blonde.
No, she's a brunette
Oh, the brunette from Community.
from Community.
She's my favorite.
It's a mystery show. Okay, good. I love the dead air. I like when you just stare at me. Okay, go on.
Have you
I'm back
heard
to
One Bad
stare at you
Apple?
now.
Have you heard of
No,
One Bad Apple?
Apples never fall.
Apples never fall.
Well, no, I mean they're both stupid names, so I can see how he got confused.
Yeah, no,
But that's also on Peacock. So
That's
if
on
you can see
Peacock,
that,
so I think
that's how we
that
got
you might
there.
be able to get it there. Anyways, that was a long way to go for that.
But those Hare Krishnas, have you ever seen them?
No.
There was a huge trope in the 80s into the 90s of they're always at
Hare Krishna.
airports,
Krishna,
just places, just dancing around, asking for money.
I don't remember them.
There's a great scene in Mad Men. Speaking of Mad Men, wow, this whole fucking day is
tying it up.
synchronicity.
Tying it up.
There's a great scene because one of the guys who used to work at the agency becomes a Hare Krishna because he's in love with some girl. And
season is
the
this
head of this is in the last season.
Okay.
The head of the TV department, I forget his name. He's like a real skeezy character. He goes to see him and ends up fucking the. But they do this Hare Krishna, you know, and he gets really into it, has like an out of body experience. Anyways, whatever. That whole last season is kind of weird because at the end he goes to the commune and invents the Coca-Cola commercial.
That's so funny. You're hilarious.
What do you mean?
I didn't watch Mad Men. I stopped after like 3 seasons.
Dude, you stink. How do you live with yourself knowing that that's out there and you haven't consumed it?
I didn't love it.
Oh, I don't know what's wrong.
Just being honest.
Seriously.
Yeah, after like 5 seasons, I was like, I was very over it.
Listen, the last season isn't the best season, but you give all that time. You want to know how it turns out. Well, I'll tell you how it turns out. He quits.
Moves to an island.
No. Don Draper
Yeah.
leaves. He gets fired or what. I don't remember. He goes out to this commune. You think it's over for him. And then the very last scene is just the Coca-Cola commercial. We'd like to tell the world to sing in perfect harmony. And it's everybody holding hands. It's a hippie thing. And he obviously invented that commercial and came back.
Don Draper's back, baby. Him and his
Back,
big
baby,
dick.
Yeah.
Was that a Coca-Cola commercial?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that what I said?
that one inside?
What is going on?
I think it's like one of the most famous, if not the most famous commercial of all time.
The
Tell me one that's bigger.
Oasis got sued. Their song "Whatever," I think they rip off that.
And
Oasis
Coke
as a
sued
song?
them?
No. Really?
No. The writers of the song,
Interesting.
Coke used their song,
Don Draper.
and they were awarded.
That's crazy.
And they asked, oh yeah, this is hilarious. They asked Noel, Liam's a singer. They asked Noel about it, and he goes, "We don't drink Coke anymore. Now we drink Pepsi."
Okay. There you go.
Like, what do you say about stealing the song? And that's all he said. So yeah, the Hare Krishna, I guess we're just getting pimped. They thought they were on their way to enlightenment, and they were just collecting money, hot girls and stuff, and just getting pimped out by, like, literally.
I mean, you don't know. Maybe the dead ones are in like a really good place, like the best place.
Well, this guy who brings an interesting angle to it, because I guess he was abused as a child or something, talks about a lot of these head into really bad abuse with children and stuff. The one guy in particular, I guess the focus of the documentary is. So I would refer people to watch that if they want to get on that stuff. And what else connected me is when they talked about DMT again, just the shared experience.
Couldn't that just be
Everyone hears it.
No, I'm saying like, you know, when you pick a drug, we all have a pretty similar reaction to that drug. You know what I'm saying? Maybe this is just that. Like it's not how it's interacting with your brain, it's how it's interacting with all brains.
Even then, that makes it cool.
No, it does make it cool, but it kind of takes away that whole like you're talking to spirit. I mean, maybe
And we're sort of wrestling with the idea that the only reason we were able to kickstart ourselves is taking these psychedelics.
the stoned ape theory.
It is wild though that that it's illegal to possess a thing that is naturally occurring in everyone. It's very odd,
It's super odd.
right? Like it's
If you're able to milk the drug, you shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
There should be no
it's very
penalty
odd, yeah.
for it, right?
Like even weed. I mean, again, grown in the ground makes no sense. I don't know.
and you have cannabinoid receptors inside you.
Yeah,
Isn't that weird?
no, it grows in the ground. Again, it's a natural thing.
No, I know, but like imagine making something that it's like we all have a plug in us.
Yeah,
And they made it illegal to plug anything into that
Yeah.
plug. But why would we bother putting the jack inside us if there was nothing to plug in? It's
like that old experiment when you walk into a room and there's a big button that's like "Do not touch the button." Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's the government. They just put a big "Do not touch the button" thing, and you're expected to just be like, okay. It's also very odd that one day weed was illegal, and literally the very next day you could go and buy an ounce from the government.
Well, I mean, that's what legal means, right? Like,
I get it, but it's just I don't know. Like if you had gotten arrested, like do you think they busted anyone on the last day?
no. I think
You don't think there was a sting that they had invested
No.
so much money into?
No.
That's so interesting.
I think that they had given up policing long before that.
You're probably right.
And they've given up now.
So you think the black market's still thriving?
I think it's thriving in a different way now. You have a lot more people who are like, you know what? I don't even want to talk about this.
Oh, fair enough.
Excellent.
Well, most people I know buy legal now,
Yes. Yeah.
and it happened way quicker than I
Okay.
thought.
I don't want to talk
Yeah,
about
that's
it,
fine.
but the same people, I don't want to talk
I don't
about
want to talk
you
about
don't
it.
I don't want to
about
talk about
He
it.
doesn't want
I
to
don't
talk
want to
about
talk
it.
about
wanna
it.
talk
Who
about
wants
He does
to talk
not
about it?
want to talk about
Nobody
it.
wants to talk about it.
Nobody wants to talk about
Why
it.
would you want to talk about it?
But they sort of concluded that somehow, and it might be the CIA, that the psychedelics were having a total resurgence with LSD and stuff, I guess, in the 60s. And that got shut down, we know, with the Manson.
Yeah. And then,
And now
sorry.
they did the Indiana Jones where they switched the psychedelics with cocaine. And that's what you sort of see from the 80s into the 90s, and now it's sort of fading out.
Well, they wanted to discredit the hippie movement. It was like they could see that was a path that was going to take us in a certain direction, and they had no interest in letting that happen. That's just, and when you find out that and then they're fighting this war where they're conscripting their own people, their own children to go over and die. And this movement is against that. Like, I don't know, man. It seems pretty obvious that they just stomp that shit out. And then you find out, like, what university was it where they went and
Shot them.
shot
Kent
or-
State.
Was it Kent State?
Ohio State?
Wherever
dead in
wherever
Ohio.
it was, you're like, you did that to your own people. Like, I thought that was, you don't do that. You know what I mean? That doesn't seem very free to me.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
It sounds like fucking China and Tiananmen Square, just on a lesser scale.
Happens all over the world.
Well, it's funny you mention it because I watched this thing on MLK's death this week, and if you look back historically, like all the U.S. has done is like for the last 100 years, anything they don't like, they just tack on communism or whatever it is, whatever the hot button thing is that day. Like MLK, what happened was they infiltrated MLK's like group, and J. Edgar Hoover was like, "Find me a connection to communism," and the guy that he tasked this with came back and was like, "I got to be honest. There's really no connection to communism here at all. It's just, this guy's just an American fight." And he was like, "No, I don't like that answer. You're going to have to go back and find me the connection." And so he was like, "Okay." So he came back and was like, "Yep, definitely a connection there." And then I saw that thing the other day where they were grilling the guy from TikTok. And he's like, "Are you a Chinese citizen?" He's like, "No, sir, I'm Singaporean." And he's like, "You're not from China." And he's like, "No, I'm Singaporean."
With Congress, you mean?
Yeah, and this congressman he's like, "But what's your connection to China?" And he's like, "Well, I'm from Singapore. I was in the military in Singapore." And he goes, "So you're Chinese?" And he's like, "No, sir, I'm Singaporean." Like, he can't hammer it down enough. But the point is like, they tend to just do this where these old dudes just get it in their head that like this is the enemy, and whatever I think is also the enemy is attached to that. It's very odd. It's
I don't
very
even
odd.
think they have that idea. They're told.
Sure, that too, yeah. But I get what you're saying, Simon. It's like the illusion of freedom.
It's just like anytime that anybody, and the same can be said for us. Like,
Of
look
course,
at the
we're
truckers,
way worse.
right? That was a clear example of
Everywhere.
them using excessive force. You know?
And it happens fast and it's bad when it happens.
It wasn't even the
No,
fo-
It wasn't even excessive force. They didn't even actually
the
do
bank
anything
accounts.
in the end.
It was the
It
bank
could have been so
accounts.
much worse.
It could have been so much worse.
It could have happened if something like that happened in America. Because what I think just coming out of that, had they found like 10 guns in all that area they occupied, I'd be like, holy fuck, that's crazy. But the fact that they didn't find any weapons or anything that was threatening, because they would have said they found it, you know that.
Yeah, but also, did they search every truck?
I guess the trucks that hightailed it out of there before they commandeered them. I'm not sure how many vehicles.
What do you mean commandeered them? What do you think
Some
happened?
people left their vehicles behind, and some people turned them on and drove away.
Okay.
In any event,
In any event.
he then talked about Ukraine. It was very interesting because I guess he was there. And despite knowing about how corrupt this country is, he was talking about something, phone call judiciary. So I guess a case comes and then before they call someone, right before they're going to give you a verdict. So it's really, really corrupt over there. But he still thinks that Russia should be stopped. While saying that they are living normal lives, like in Kiev and stuff, which is just weird to think about.
He also said, though, the bombing was like wildly. He said it was a lot closer than he thought.
Yeah, no, it's really happening. But in my head, have the whole country is like
In a bunker.
lockdown and stuff. But people in Kiev are going about their business stuff, and there's the front, just like here. If there's a war in British Columbia, I have no idea it's happening. But, and then Joe is right in his feelings about AI. We could do this, anything, but just the eventual merge. Like all these issues, we're either going to blow up, kaboom, or merge and sort of blow up what we thought it was to be human.
Yeah, he's really concerned. I think that's his number one concern right now, which should
Thank
be.
God it's not COVID. You know what I mean?
I mean, I think we're all fucked. Truly.
In a good way.
No. Fucked is usually pretty bad. The pejorative.
By AI?
Well, not by AI. Listen, we act like AI is like going to be for the people. It's the great liberator. It's not. It's controlled by all the richest people on earth, and all they're going to do is use it to exploit us further. Like,
Yep.
what do you think the odds? Like, I'd love to see if someone had numbers. Like, what do you think the odds throughout history are? We're being rich. Like, even if you just took the last 100 years. Like, do you think your odds are? Do you think you have a better chance of becoming rich now? Or do you think you had a better chance of becoming rich in like the 30s,
now,
40s?
for sure.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't
Yeah.
think I agree with you.
Really?
Yeah, I was going the
I
other
feel
way
it's
as well.
easier to steal back then for sure.
Well, I just
fraud.
think there's way more easy ways to get rich now than there was back then.
But the money's worth less. I don't know, man.
Meaning that you can invest in a stock and be rich the next day. Back then, all of that was,
You can invest in a stock 50 years ago.
but we didn't say 50
No, I
years
think
ago.
his point. Well, I said the 30s. That's a long time ago. But I guess Simon's
You can buy
point.
a stock then too.
Yeah, but Simon's point is like if you bought a stock in 1950, the market didn't move the way it does now.
It's that you weren't getting that stock would be worth a lot today.
Yeah,
But
if you held on for
in
70
your
years, yeah.
lifetime, who knows? You know what I mean? It's I think you had to work harder, and now there's like, fuck, people are getting rich every day off of TikTok or something. I don't know.
I guess, yeah. I don't know. It feels like, but you see, I feel like that's a facade as well. Like, I feel like that's created by the powers that be.
As long as they tell you that and show you that, then you think there's hope.
That's it.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I don't think it's so far a stretch to think that we're being manipulated all the time.
And listen, we just found out that like a lot of these companies have been lying about the numbers anyway, just to lure
Yeah.
advertisers in.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
you're happy because you're like, yeah, I'm getting 80 million views and I'm rich. And the advertiser thinks they're getting all these views, so they're happy as a pig in shit too, and they're paying the money. And then you
But I
find out
mean-
it's all a house of cards.
Don't those advertisers, like, they must want to see return on investment, no?
Yeah, I mean, I know for a fact that
Yeah,
with us,
it's called enter your code.
yeah, like I know with us, that's the deal. Is
Yeah, so if not enough people are entering
Correct.
that code, so there is some metric to keep that system honest. I mean, it's not honest, but you see what I'm saying,
There's ads
right?
without codes.
But Simon, like, let's use our main advertiser, BetterHelp, for example. Do you believe, like, they advertise on everyone? Like, do you believe that? I mean, how many people do you think they must be making a ton of money? They're advertising like a gambling website.
What I don't understand is I was listening to another podcast on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah.
And I got a commercial for the Junos in Halifax 3 days after the Junos happened.
Yeah.
So there's no way that ad failed on me, but it still gets embedded and goes out there.
Well, it didn't fail. It's just that ad has probably been running for a month and it'll be cut off like
The
next week.
Junos,
But
when did the Junos happen?
Last week.
Oh.
But no, it should
gives a shit?
It should have been cut off the day of the Junos.
Yeah.
Yeah, but listen, well, how big was the podcast? Pardon me. How big was the podcast?
Not big.
Yeah. See, the point is, like,
Oh no, it was WTF. Sorry, it was Mark Maron.
okay. I mean, even then, Mark Maron has like normal people working for him that might have he doesn't know the Junos. They don't know the Junos. It would be like if some literary award was advertising with us.
Of course, I just saying the
And
Junos.
the Junos don't know that they're running that afterwards. They just know it's running.
The Junos don't know how many people that ad's going to
No,
bring
yeah,
to
well,
them to watch.
It's nobody after the fact. I
that's-
can tell you that much.
That's yeah, but there's an advertising that goes out that they know they're not going to
All
get a
right.
return on
All
investment.
right, I get it.
No, but you're forgetting too, just in closing, Simon, that it's the 30 days. Like, you know that you only get paid for the 30 days. That 30 days might have ended the day before the Junos, and they don't care. They're not paying for anything after that. Anyway.
Shop talk. So this guy said he saw the Arizona lights.
Yeah, that must have excited you, Simon.
I mean, listen, there are so many. This isn't one of those ones where it's like two witnesses.
A
You're
lot of
talking
people.
about like thousands and thousands of people seeing something went over Phoenix that night. It actually went way more than Phoenix, right? It came through 2 other states. They have it all. They saw it in more places than Phoenix. Anyways, something went over there, or a platoon of something, a squadron, or one giant thing with men. Who knows? But fucking Kurt Russell reported seeing it. He's a amateur pilot, and he was flying his son into Phoenix for something, or to LA, or from Phoenix to whatever. No, he was coming into Phoenix, and he reported they have it on tape.
Oh, this is all just an
Of
ad
him
for that show on Apple. It was Apple that did this.
It wasn't. What show on Apple?
The one with Kurt Russell and his son.
Wow.
Well,
he fell asleep and
I
now
think
he's coming with
it's
these
a different
theories.
son, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyways, that was a Godzilla show, and no, this wasn't an.
But wouldn't that be a great ad campaign? You do the
But
biggest
this-
viral.
I'm telling you, this happened. He talks about it. He's talked about it on podcasts before.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, so he saw it. Anyways, it is a neat thing to think about, though, right? Like, some people report tons of seeing lights and thinking they're different ships, and some people report it as just one huge ship.
That's his report.
But it was one huge ship,
But I think he meant like
like
bigger than a destroyer.
Yeah, like the
smaller
size
than
of a football
aircraft
field.
carrier.
It's so fucking big. Something like that up above you in broad daylight would shatter your worldview. It wouldn't even make sense.
But it happened and it didn't.
What does that mean?
All those people in Arizona.
Well, it was nighttime, so all they were seeing was lights, hence the Phoenix lights. I'm saying flip that around, and that
Daytime.
happens during the day, and some thing the size of a football field floats over top of your city. Like, nothing floats in the air like that. Nothing that big can be in the air. It would
blimp.
just.
Blimp's the biggest thing we see that does
A
that.
blimp is like the size of 2 fucking buses.
And
You
this
know
would
what I
be
mean?
100 blimps.
This
what?
would be even more than 100.
Blimps are
blimps,
pretty
I would
big, man.
imagine. But
You know what-
anyways.
you know what just dawned
maybe.
on me?
You're right. They're pretty big.
It's crazy to think, Simon, that there's so many countries in the world where if they saw that, they would probably just immediately be like the Americans.
And not
Are
Jesus.
attacking us.
Or doing something. You know what I mean? Like, in the US, you know for sure.
It's not another country.
Yeah, like that's your almost
you know
go to.
that?
Well, I'm saying
something
almost
that big.
I'm
Listen,
saying almost certainly you could rule out another country.
they send drones in, they send balloons, they said no airships enter American airspace without their permission. And if they do, it's like a declaration of war.
Yeah, like to find one that deep inland. Like if you were on the coast of San Diego and you saw like
no. This thing goes over like Utah and
that's what I'm saying. It's so deep
Whatever
inland
the
that
hell
the
is
US
there.
would have shot it down long before it got anywhere close to where.
Yeah, I mean, you would.
If a Russian MiG made it like through California, they're shooting it down.
Yeah. I mean, well, we would have thought that on
With the
9/11
balloon
too.
Oh yeah.
No.
Well, no, that was an American.
And that balloon's way bigger than you thought it was. It was really big.
The spy balloon.
The spy balloon was really big.
Isn't that interesting that you'd think a spy anything would be not big? It's fucking gigantic.
Well, you can't see.
Well, I
with the
think a
naked eye.
balloon
it.
has to be a certain size to be able to like withstand the elements and be of use.
Of space.
Up in space.
That's where this thing is. And
I don't think the balloon's up in space.
next to space, closer to space than me.
Definitely closer to space
That
than
was
you,
the
but
street answer.
anything in the sky would be closer to space.
that is
than
correct.
you.
Say that was the street answer.
Yeah.
Closer to space
A
than
name,
me.
a name that popped up a lot in throughout all the week was Bob Lazar.
Bobby Lasers.
I believe it's called a kill switch, but we do hope he has some sort, when he dies, something's last will and testament, some sort of document.
There's like a Rube Goldberg machine.
That's something everyone has to have if they're in this position of
Sorry, just before that, I was thinking about this today. So this is the part of the story I don't understand. Bob Lazar, they say that his wife starts cheating on him because he's leaving at all hours of the night to go to Groom Lake and do his research or whatever.
Yeah.
So she starts having an affair, and then they deem him, if he finds out, that'll be a liability. So they fire him. That doesn't sound like something the government, a top secret thing would happen at all. Am I wrong? Like, is that really how they would handle that?
Maybe there was a normal response when
internally?
guys found out that their wives were cheating on them.
No, I get
could
it.
count on.
I know, I get it. Even still more reason to keep him in the fold. Like
I don't know, maybe-
you release him out there. We saw exactly what happened. He went and blabbed right away to his friends. You know what I mean?
So we played that one wrong. But that he's alive means he knows something.
That
coming
seems so odd to me. That really goes
The whole
more
story seems
towards
odd.
the idea that they were using him as a
Puppet.
as a
useful idiot.
useful idiot. Exactly. Like, to me, that part is like, that doesn't make any sense. You're running this super secret program that the wife can't know about, that he gets blindfolded to go to, and then as soon as something goes a little wrong in his personal life, they're just like, eject, just kick him out. He can't even come in anymore.
Yeah.
And you think he's not gonna like go and be wondering what the fuck happened? Like, it's so dumb.
And he has
It's so
he
dumb.
has some Alex Jones to him.
Well, the weird thing too, Simon, is like you're firing someone who's seen all this top secret stuff. You'd think a jaded, angry employee is just as bad as someone
Matt,
whose wife is cheating on them.
You either keep him in the fold forever or you murder him. And I can see why he would have thought that they were going to murder him. But that was because he went and showed the people the UFOs. We don't even know what, like, maybe they were just going to let him leave because that's what they did back in the day.
They fired him and he said, I have something you guys don't want me letting out. Let me live and it'll never come to light.
Well, apparently they just banned him from the facility, so they never would have known what he knew and what he didn't. So anyways, it just seems like a weird part to that story. But go ahead with what you were saying. I'm sorry.
I mean, the whorehouse is also an interesting part of the story.
Well,
but
who cares about that's afterwards? I don't care what you do after the fact. He got disgraced in his
I'll show
in
the
his-
government.
in his circle. No, I think he was just probably trying to make
listen.
money he had to declare bankruptcy. He was like,
I'm not shitting on the space pimp, bro. I'm
they
just saying.
came in, they fucking pulled all his research, they ransacked his place. They didn't make his life easy, you know?
All this research.
Anyways. Well, they were looking for that element, apparently.
I just was saying the thing with Bob Lazar is like an Alex Jones. Some things he has said are right.
Yeah,
Despite all the other misinformation,
for sure.
disinformation
But
swirling
again,
around him.
if you are a useful idiot, they're going to feed you a bunch of real information.
But to what end?
But they're running
what end?
running the narrative. I don't know to what end.
Like, think about it. Like, knowing what we know now. So Bob Lazar said this thing exists. Like, putting that out there in the lexicon didn't do anything. And then we discover it 20 years later at CERN, and like, again, no, doesn't matter. You see what I'm saying? There was no real, like, I don't see what the end game was of using him as a useful idiot, unless you just think it's
Right.
like just to push aliens on the public.
Well, it could be that because you're trying to create a new enemy
Yeah.
to replace communism. Maybe that was the plan.
Listen, if we actually thought there was aliens coming to hurt us, there's no amount of money we wouldn't dump into that. They could throw a 75% tax on everything you bought tomorrow, and you'd be like, as long as it's keeping us safe from the aliens.
Dude, there is a series right now on Netflix. You have to watch it. It's called The Three Body Problem. Have you
I saw
heard
the
of this?
ad for it, yeah.
Okay,
It's got the guy from Game of Thrones.
It's the best of the year. 100%. It's the best show of the year. It's so fucking good. I'll just give you the premise of the book.
No, don't.
alright? Yeah, it doesn't ruin anything.
No, it doesn't matter because I like going into these. I prefer going into it knowing zero.
Watch Tokyo Vice.
I tried watching it. It's very slow.
Yeah, but it gets intense.
It's very slow.
It's really good. It's the subtitles.
Anyways, you should fucking watch that show. It's
Okay, well,
incredible.
if you're raving about it.
Yeah, anyways, it's all about aliens. But
The problem is the last
Not
time you
about
guys were
aliens.
here, you told us to watch a show called Voyeur, and you told us to watch a movie called Voyeur. And other than Sydney Sweeney's tits,
I said out front that's the only reason.
this
to watch
is based
movie.
on a famous Japanese
gave you
or
timestamps.
Chinese novel that they
Japanese.
Three body
translated
problem.
Chinese.
Still cool.
Three body problem. It's three books.
gonna do it
This
anyway.
is the first book. No, I'm not. The second book is called like Dark Forest, and I don't remember what the third book is called. But
so they're making 3 more seasons. Is it?
I would
it's
assume
TV?
they're gonna. Yeah, it's the makers of
episodic,
Game of
okay.
Thrones. It's episodic, but they release it all in one shot.
Yeah.
I feel like Simon's trying to resurrect the book club.
Well, I'm gonna read the book for sure. It was really fucking good.
So in regards to Bob Lazar, Joe said he said adamantly throughout the week that he wants to know, and he would keep his mouth shut. He'd be willing to die with that secret. Then he said, maybe I tell my wife, maybe a friend, which is that thing of, can you really keep a secret? Does a secret really exist?
The secret only exists if they have something on you.
But Joe is sure, and he's broadcasting out there, show me a ship. I want a part of it, and I will not tell anyone. I promise.
Oh, I want to tell you about this fucking thing so bad.
What he's hoping is that Trump becomes president and gets a little drunk, a la fucking Nixon, and is like, Joe
Joe is his Jackie.
Gleason. Yeah, precisely. Joe gets to go and see it with Trump.
It would
Kid
be-
Rock will be there.
That'd be
Dana.
poetic.
It's John Daly, Dana, Quick Kid Rock, Joe. They're
I should
all.
put that in Daliwa and make a poster right now because that's coming down the pike for sure.
Daliwa.
Dali, I don't know. I don't like
Sounds so
That's
funny
from
when I
Indiana
say that.
Jones.
Daliwa.
I'm trying to keep a separation.
Kalima.
And then that's funny. Said that they told the story about the monk with the city of levitation. And said it took me 30 years so I can now walk across the water.
Yeah, but the ferry only costs
much
30
money.
cents. Yeah.
I give it a 3.5.
Apparently, there was like a group of yogis in India who used to like work their butt muscles so much that they were able to like
It's some sort of flying.
levitate themselves off the ground, but not levitate. It was jumping,
Jumping
but it
with your
gave the
ass.
illusion of, I'm not using my hands or my feet, but I'm able to.
How many things are there?
Get there.
From yogis and cult leaders and Hare Krishnas to the Scientologists to this. But yoga, through it all, is still like a healthy practice and good for you, your mind, body, and spirit.
Well, I bet a lot, when you break down a lot of the cults, there's like tenets that are very good. And it's always like this one guy that comes in and just fucking
Ruins it
you
for
know?
everyone.
Well, this guy made an amazing documentary about that one guy, and everyone should go watch it. And he also made Sasquatch. So
Yeah, I didn't love Sasquatch, but what was the one he made before that? I thought he made another one.
Yeah, he did. He made the one.
I thought that's why Joe had him on in the first place, but
He made a cult one, didn't he?
yeah, maybe.
Kumar, are you still meditating?
Waco, American Apocalypse.
Kumar, are you still meditating?
Bob Ross. No, I haven't meditated.
Waco, there's another crazy, like, they've led us to believe one thing in history and it wasn't at all the case. And even more to that is
Ruby Ridge.
Ruby Ridge. Like, there's a narrative that if you don't do your own digging, you
Dude,
will think.
if you read the real story of Ruby Ridge, if you lived in the States right now and you read like the actual account of what happened and you didn't go out and buy a stack of fucking guns,
Yeah.
you're just an asshole.
You know what's crazy too is, like, I think I told you this a long time ago. The story of the real story of the McCoys versus the
Hatfields.
is totally different than what it's like. Because listen, we're kids, we're learning things in class. They make a couple of songs, they make a couple of, you think that, Davy Crockett was a guy who went out there to hunt raccoons. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know what Davy Crockett actually did, but he wasn't just a
He's probably a racist.
Hunter. No, but I bet it had something to do with the Civil War.
Sure.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? But they make these like
was co-opted,
folklore
yeah.
tales. This is within 100 years, 200 years, whatever it is. How are we supposed to know what happened 1,000? Like, by the time our kids are adults, there'll be a whole new history written that you don't even have any. Well, you'll be dead. So it won't
Simon, that's
matter.
why I always find like numbers in history. I always find so interesting when they're like, this battle had 700,000 men. I'm like, how do you know that? Is there one guy up on the hill counting? Because
No, it was some guy taking notes.
I still don't buy it.
No, but listen, some guy taking notes, Matt, and his job was to count all the dudes. And he's just like, well, that's a lot of guys. Like, you think he's out there counting 700,000 heads?
But this is my point, is like
Yeah.
back then, you could, dude, if you think about it, the number 700,000 back then was like saying 5 million now. You know what I mean? Just an
Yeah.
unfathomable number. And they were probably just throwing those numbers around all the time. Especially think about the flex. We're coming over the Rhine. We've got 700,000 of us.
And also, Matt, if you're like, let's just make up a place. You live in Matland, and in the First World War, you won.
Yeah.
Are you gonna like print your history book saying that you lost
No.
700,000? No, you're gonna have come out clean, and
The history books are going to be like 700,000
Your adversaries.
big dick men
Yeah,
ran
exactly.
over the hill and slayed the small penis men.
That's exactly it.
Mar, is that it for him?
Yeah, it was a great listen. I give it 3.5.
I'll give it a 3. I'm not going 3.5. I
We'll
don't
give
think.
it fuck, I don't care, a 3.
All right, let's move on. I literally was up all night listening to fucking Schulz. I was so
I'm
pissed.
going to fix this for you. 2130 Coleman Hughes.
Did you see his appearance on The View?
So he got Don Lemon on The View.
But did you watch it?
I've seen the clips.
Okay.
Afterwards.
Okay. I watched the whole interview.
So what happened? He went on The View and they like lambasted him.
No, most of them were very open to listen to what he was saying and have like an open discussion. And then one of them just decided she was like, I'm gonna put an end to this real quick. And she called him. She was like, yeah, she was like, most of Black America thinks you're a shill for the right. How does that make you feel? You know,
And then by that way, making all the right racist. So that's another weird ad hominem. And that's what he said. It was an ad hominem attack. But he was saying the same sentiment as Elon. Is as long as we keep talking about racism, there's going to be racism. And he does a TED talk where he talks about something about practicing being colorblind and just in every situation. And I've said that many times. I'm not saying I'm like him, but I work at a place where it's all racism, and racism has never been an issue.
Hold on a sec. I agree with that sentiment, I think.
which sentiment?
That we should not see, the more we talk about this, the worse it actually becomes. The problem was Elon saying it. The same way I shouldn't say it, he shouldn't.
Have you ever
say
heard
it.
Morgan Freeman say it?
Coleman Hughes saying it is a whole different story.
Because you're racist.
No, not because I'm racist,
'cause
because
he's a
it's
Jew.
his shared fucking trauma.
It doesn't matter
that
who
they're-
says it, it's an idea.
But what does shared trauma mean?
You're saying only a black person
Whatever
can say
the
that?
fuck it is.
But do you believe that? Do you believe that if your great great grandfather went
Yeah,
through some
I-
trauma, you hold on to that?
I think that there is something to knowing that your people got decimated. Yeah, no, I think there is.
But so let me ask you a question. So if you're I know this is never going to happen, but let's say a Jewish woman has a kid, puts it up for adoption. A Christian family adopts that kid. That kid never knows it was born Jewish, right? It has
no. Yeah, I see.
You see where I'm going? Like, does that kid still hold with it that now? Again, you're probably going to be like, "Wow, that Christian looks like a Jew," but like,
well, again, it's different for black in the black scenario.
Sure,
because you are obviously different than the white family who adopts you. A Jewish person, you wouldn't even know the difference, right? Because you're both.
But you
white.
could argue that the Jews have been through I don't want to say an equal atrocity, but do you know what I mean? Like the shared.
There's no. I think if you know, then you will feel that.
To Kamar's point,
it's not inbred into you.
To Kamar's point, do you not think that we're perpetuating this shared?
Kamar is saying, so you then also think, Kamar, just out of curiosity.
I think he's saying Coleman thinks, but
no, this is what he thinks.
Okay.
No, I don't know. But then by that logic, then we should also not talk about the Holocaust.
Or we should talk about all Holocausts the same, not pick one as worse.
Oh, you mean a genocide?
I mean,
genocide, yeah.
Genocide.
That's a different conversation, but...
Well, let me ask you a question. Is there a difference between the Holocaust and a genocide? Like Rwanda, for example.
It's so fitting because it's 30 years ago today the Rwanda genocide happened.
Okay, well, I didn't know that.
There was
I'm just
a
bringing
million
that up.
people killed in 100 days by machete.
Now, again, that's not 14 million. I understand that. But my
it
question...
wasn't 14 million and...
Okay,
Again,
however many it
6
was.
million.
Okay.
With these things, the numbers
still pretty
are out the
egregious.
window. If it's a genocide and it's horrible. That's it. And to say one's worse than the other is just like...
No, I get it, but that's why I was asking. Like,
Okay, so I'm not saying that one's worse than the other. I'm saying, why should we stop talking about all of them?
Because that genocide, they decided we have to stop talking about.
No, I agree, but so we should talk about all of them, not ignore them because we think that by ignoring them, it's going to make them go away. That seems like a crazy thing to do.
What was interesting about this, I was going to do the post, Joe, but I watched this documentary, and in the 1800s, Germany and Belgium went down to Rwanda and sort of colonized it. And what they did is...
Belgium was doing a lot of that down there.
No, but they were doing it to end slavery in these countries. It's really weird. But in doing it, they started measuring their faces and just doing all this anthropological work on them. And they convinced them in like 1910 that they were 3 different races. They're not. But they convinced them based on one photograph and a painting that was done that made them look smaller and different.
Well, I think that's what that phrenology head comes into
But literally,
play somewhere
Germany
in there.
and
Belgium
had a system to teach them that you're different. You're a Hutu, you're a Tutsi, you're a Twa. And that bubbled up eventually in 1993 for the Hutu to just go on. They said they had learned them in 80 years to think of the Tutsis as cockroaches. And they acted accordingly. And it's all because of this intervention. It was black on black. It's even harder to like, what are you seeing the difference in each other that you have to kill your neighbor? And this wasn't a systematic thing. It was just all the people turned and killed everybody. It's crazy.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Kamar, don't forget too, when they freed the slaves, they sent them back to Africa where they had never been. And they landed in Liberia. And they created Monrovia after Monroe. And they immediately enslaved everyone. That was the first thing they did.
And another interesting thing is Roman Dallaire, it was a Canadian who was on the UN who was telling the world this is happening. At the same time, the Kosovo conflict was happening. And he said, the powers that be said, it's tribal. Let's just see how this rolls. And he said the guys killing the people were saying, you guys are slave traders and shit. You can't come here and tell us these are cockroaches we got to get rid of. Like, it was so fucking insane.
So that genocide was one, the Hutsis against the
Hutu were the Tutsis.
The Tutsis. And were the Hutu being backed by like the Belgium or the Germans or something?
No, they'd all been kicked out of the country, but they left behind this idea that these people thought they were totally different races.
It was like ethnic cleansing, not realizing that they're the same people.
It took 80 years for what they did. They thought it was good to make a class system in Rwanda. Rwanda's beautiful, by the way. It's not like this Some African countries, I guess you think are not, but like the Congo and stuff.
What do you mean or think are not?
I think of Africa as like
Arid?
the Lion King.
Arid. A desert.
Yeah, so it's more like that. But these places are lush, and this
Congo's all
this area is
Well,
all
remember,
called.
Africa is gigantic.
I think it's bigger than the rest of the world.
No, I know, but it's going to
not
be
bigger than the rest of
different
the world.
parts
I
of.
th- well,
By the way, I was doing the edit
think
last
it
week
is.
and I said that Russia wouldn't fit in. It's totally wrong. Totally wrong.
oh, that's nice.
Totally wrong. What a fucking retard. It's because I'd seen it in a video and then didn't do any due diligence. It's way more kilometers.
I bet Africa is huge, Kamar.
Africa's massive.
So-
it's not bigger than the world.
In
Not
any
the
event-
world, but it might be bigger than all the other continents, except for Antarctica and.
No, there's a lot you can fit in Africa. I've seen it, but it's not the rest of the world. Like Russia's fucking huge. So
Anyways, okay,
yeah,
fine.
Any Hutu.
And
But
that's too soon.
So he had this 8-minute conversation on The View, which went super viral, where he got Don Lemon by Sunny Hostin. And it's interesting when you're like, she's obviously a smart person. But to just have that side sort of the Don Lemon sort of line, like what you're saying is not true, even though it's more racist.
You know what the interview showed me? It showed me that we're just never all going to get along. And why bother trying? Because they were both quoting Martin Luther King Jr. And they were both, no, but this is the interesting thing. They were both like, no, but did you see what he said? Did you really read what he said? And
Well, 2 movies.
this is the thing is like, I was like, they both saw the same speech. They both read the same text and they both got completely different messages out of it. And they're both like, they should be on the same side. They're quoting the same guy, but they both interpreted it completely
And
different.
he's not there to clarify. So
Exactly. Yeah.
now they can,
Because the
go-
FBI killed him.
2 boats that start at the same place go a little bit off or way far apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, they talked about Ben Shapiro versus Destiny, which is the most annoying conversation to watch. I watched a bit of it.
You know what I found odd was Joe. Like, I'm not sitting here saying Destiny, but Joe had a very odd like. Who is this guy? He just thinks he can debate anyone, and I was like, he's you, Joe. He's just a guy who started on the internet, and
He's
now
probably- he's
people
probably-
want
he's
to
probably
talk
got
to
the same
him.
Education, but
Yeah, I don't like.
he talks faster than he thinks.
I don't like.
You don't have to like Destiny.
I don't like Destiny, but
He has
he's
as much
the,
right to
he's
be
the
there.
same as
As any of them.
Daily.
same right.
What's his name there? Who he debated?
Ben Shapiro.
Where do you think Ben should be? He's just a nobody who got on the internet, and next thing you know,
Well, I guess Ben at least is a lawyer. I'm not sure.
well,
if
what
he's
is Destiny? I don't
a
know what
streamer,
he
a
is.
video game player.
Maybe he went to school for
don't-
fucking neuroscience.
I
have
don't think
no
he did,
idea.
but maybe.
But the
Just
point is-
remember what's his name called him. Just never forget.
Who, Finkelstein?
Exactly.
Called him what?
You are an absolute
You're
charlatan.
redefining the definition of what it means to be an imbecile.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
And he pointed out one of the things that he's concerned about is, we talk about doing it for the children, doing it for the planet, and now a big one I've just noticed is fighting for democracy. We weren't fighting democracy. Well, I mean, we wanted democracy in other places, but on our own shores, we weren't fighting
Who's
for it.
fighting for democracy?
We all are. If you ask the liberals in Canada,
No, but you see that
the
message?
conservatives are going to ruin democracy. If Trump gets voted, he's going to destroy democracy. It's another one of those boogeyman in the sky.
I don't think we've been democracy for a long time.
It's the space race. Isn't it crazy? I don't know if you guys know this, but they were talking about the space race. And we always thought that was like a race to see who was going to get to space. It had nothing to do with that. It was who was going to get weapons into space first. That's what
But
the
space
real
sounds more
space
appealing than
race
weapons.
was. Yeah. Well, they can't call it the weapons race,
They
like
can if you create an enemy.
I know, but it changes the whole. Well, they did have an enemy. It was Russia. It was the Russian space race, but they called it that so people would think it was like racing to see who gets to the moon, when really it was who was putting weapons up there first.
Russia's still their enemy.
Russia is still their enemy.
Like-
It's crazy. Russia asked to get into NATO, and they said no.
Yeah.
We talked about this already. Why did they say no? Because you can't have 2 fucking bullies in the schoolyard. It doesn't work.
No, but you also need it. You need like a constant enemy.
But they would just make up a new enemy.
No, but it's better to have that same. Listen, if Russia joins you, then you guys are the power, right? Like, let's say China and Russia join NATO. What are we afraid of at that point? Who's gonna? Is Rwanda going to attack
There's
us?
nothing. Yeah.
And,
This is-
and war.
Well, no, that's how you know NATO is a sham. This is what I'm saying.
Yes, this is my
Well,
point.
Because
Club. Welcome to the
otherwise,
party,
you
Simon.
let fucking Russia in with
Welcome to the
open
party.
arms.
Welcome to the party.
And the only reason they didn't is because America controls NATO.
Preach.
But this is my point too. Is if they let Russia in, it's now mutually so. Now, if anyone attacks the states, Russia has to join, which means China.
There's nobody left to fight.
This
Facts.
is my. This
There's
is
nobody
exactly
left
my
to
point.
fight.
Yes, and then what do you do?
Well,
'Cause you
what
can't-
does America's military complex do?
Well, then they
Fight
just have to
aliens.
fund
They
CIA
fight.
wars.
They fight aliens.
Or, yeah, sure,
and
aliens,
this
yeah.
is what they've been
And climate
getting you
change.
ready for all along.
the name
And
of
climate
democracy.
change. Yeah, that's a tough
For
one.
the children.
Have you guys seen an ad for Civil War?
It looks amazing. I told you that's what's his name? That's the guy who wrote The Beach and Ex Machina.
Oh, is it okay? Yeah.
Alex Garland. He's fucking amazing.
Is it weird that Jesse Plemons and his wife Kristen Dunst are just in everything together?
They probably have good chemistry on screen.
They're the most ordinary looking movie stars.
They
Yeah,
are
Jesse
pretty
Plemons,
ordinary.
100%,
She's a
yeah.
vampire, and he's like.
But she
a
used to be
fucking-
hot.
Yeah, when she was underage.
Oh.
Pervert.
No. First of all, when she was
Matt
underage,
loved her in Interview with a Vampire.
I was underage when she was underage. You dipshit. We're the same age.
I don't know where to go
Fucking
back on.
weirdo.
We're gonna have to go back
I don't know
on
if
that
you
one.
want to play that
Yeah.
out.
I guess she was hot when she was 8.
Yeah. When I was 8.
All right, here we go. I'll prove it to you. I bet we're the same fucking age.
Just while you look that up, they talked about the immigration thing, and obviously Biden doesn't know what's going on. So some powers that be are pushing that policy. It's not Joe Biden who's a vision for letting all these people in and working out. What the motive is still is not
She's 1 year older than me.
apparent. Perfect, man. 8 on 8 crime.
Exactly. 8 on 8.
And then he pointed out how people are complaining about Trump, complaining about the election being stolen. Hillary Clinton is still complaining about the election being stolen. So all sides suck. Yeah. And that's what I'll say, okay?
Listen, we talk about this all the time. The hanging Chad. That was all about them trying to say the machines were rigged. He didn't really win. It should have been whoever, and it just all got
Al
pushed
Gore.
under the rug the same way Trump got. It's nothing new. Trump was taking it really personally. They had
Dude, that one was worse because the
15 years
governor,
ago,
the governor of Florida was Jeb Bush.
Okay, well, there you go.
Do you know what I
10
mean?
years before, however many years that was, they did the exact same thing to Al Gore.
Yeah. I just think it's really obscene that like your brother is the governor of that state and he's like, I think we need to recount. That's insane.
I wonder if Al Gore, was that who it was, Al Gore? It
was Al Gore, yeah.
I wonder if Al Gore had won.
He wouldn't
if
make $1 billion
there
off
are-
doing a sham fucking
There
documentary.
are no more wars because they get the right guy into office and now they just start fighting the environment. Like this came later. Maybe it just would have come. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
a great way to put fighting the environment.
Well, that's what's going to happen. We're going to start, they're going to say, we see a comet coming, and then you start, war effort to, oh, dude, you have to watch that fucking show, man.
The BBC reported earlier that the trees have officially taken
Well,
London.
Do you guys remember? I just looking through history. There was there's a huge fire in Greece, maybe 8 years ago or something. And then right before the pandemic, there was a huge fire in Australia. They happen.
I remember half of Australia burnt down during the pandemic.
Why did you say that?
Well, we had a big fire here. Maybe it's because of global warming.
Were we talking about fire?
No, he's trying to bring up the ice cube, the Antarctic ice
We
cube.
talk about the environment, fighting the environment, fires.
Oh, I see. You're saying because it's getting hotter, there are more forest fires.
That's what they're telling me. I don't know. I'm not a climatologist.
Right. I mean, that would be a good way to
keep the fight going.
keep the fight going.
Dude, YouTube suggested a video of all the angles of the Beirut,
Oh God, that gets exhausting and terrifying.
The bomb there or whatever it
the
was.
port, the thing that blew
Because
up.
each shockwave is slightly different.
Dude,
Because depending where you are away from it.
it's one of those things where like you like if you've never experienced war like us, you know what I mean? You're like, oh, it's got to be bad. And then you see something like that and you're like, can you imagine that happening like often around you, like in your hometown, like just watching?
Well, people freak out when the jets go over the football stadium.
Who? No, Americans love that.
No, in the glebe.
Oh,
Like literally, no. It's one of them's my stepfather.
No, listen.
who's written many a letter saying he doesn't want planes flying over the football stadium because it's traumatic.
If you were in like World War
makes-
II or something and you're in France and you're having fucking airplanes fly over your head, I could see why that would be traumatic,
It rattles the
we
windows
will
and
never
stuff.
understand that. No movie will ever do it justice, because you go to the movie and you feel like you're there, but you're never actually like at risk of your life.
Dude, I can tell you,
Dude,
listen, this
crazy.
is, I know you're going to laugh at this and you're going to be like, you're a fucking idiot. The stress of even just playing a first person shooter when it gets intense, and I'm comfortably on my couch. Like, it's insane to think about. Like, dude, the other night, I'm playing with my buddies. There's 3 of us alive. It's the end game. My buddy's yelling at me that there's a guy to my left. I have tunnel vision on because I'm shooting a dude in front of me. And he's like, why didn't you shoot at the guy at the left? I said it 6 times. And then I'm thinking, like, imagine if we're in a trench. You're like, there's a dude to the left. I'm just, yeah, like, dude, I can't fucking imagine. Like, I don't even like waking up uncomfortably. Imagine waking up in a trench to like,
I think it's insane.
it's fucking bananas.
The video game analogy was weird.
I told you you'd say it. I started off by saying that.
No,
Why? It wasn't a bad analogy. I said
simulation. It's everything.
what
works.
I said is even sitting comfortably on my couch, it can be intense. I can't imagine being actually out there, think like bullets whizzing by your head. Like imagine you watch me take a bullet to the head and you're just like, I just got to keep going on.
Yeah, and that's like you're out there. Think about the guys storming the beaches of Normandy.
It's nuts. You're watching so many guys get gunned down.
First of all, most of them never even make it to the beach because their stupid U-boats just get destroyed because it's the dumbest idea ever,
Yeah.
by the by.
Yeah.
Like when you watch that new Band of Brothers in the air, and you're just watching all these planes get shot out and they have no defense, right? Like there's nothing they can do. And they're just, each plane has 20 guys on it or whatever it is. And every time one of them, that's another 20 people dead. Like, it's just fucking crazy. It's crazy. We will never understand.
No. Well, we might soon.
If that ever happens here, you're not going to want to live anymore. Like, we romanticize this idea of like people surviving. If a nuclear bomb hits, everything within a certain area gets totally decimated.
Yeah.
Everything in the outer rim catches on fire. Everything in the rim after that is
EMP'd.
then you have the sickness, and then you like it's fucking crazy. And
Well, no,
like,
now they drop hydrogen bombs. That's the difference.
like I was talking about this woman who was on
You're hearing that,
Lex, hydrogen bombs.
Yeah.
So they're even worse.
No, there's no radiation.
Oh, I see. There's
That's
no
the
radiation.
difference.
Fine. Listen, the fallout is even worse. When one of those bombs hits, everything catches on fire. Everything, forest fires everywhere. You know what I mean?
The air
like
catches fire, yeah.
Then the cloud of blackness falls over, and you have like this. What do they call it?
The
Something
nuclear
winter.
fallout.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Not anymore. I'm pretty sure that was the difference between the nuclear bomb and the hydrogen bomb.
My understanding of watching.
Because that's why Hiroshima has people. Like
It
they live there.
did not cause a nuclear winter.
That's my point. Like Chernobyl is a nuclear winter. They're like nothing will grow here, which we know is like kind of whatever.
But what do you
No,
mean?
this is a cloud of
they hit
dust so
Hiroshima
big.
with a nuclear bomb, didn't they?
Well, that's what we were told.
Not
but
the
we,
atomic bomb.
that's what we were told. But again, like I'm saying,
I don't believe in the nuclear bomb.
I'm
Remember
pretty
that.
sure right now, if you go to Nagasaki, like you can go there as a tourist and walk around.
And not
Same
get
thing with
radiation
Hiroshima.
sickness.
Yeah, and it's not
But you
like
can't go
but
to-
you
Well,
can't go to Chernobyl.
Apparently, three-eyed dogs, and at Fukushima.
Well, am I wrong,
These are
Simon?
4 examples.
Like you,
I don't.
Three
I don't
examples.
know. I assume after a certain amount of time you can go anywhere. When did Chernobyl happen, and when did
Chernobyl happened in the 80s.
Yeah, and this happened in the 40s.
That's what I'm saying.
So it's 40 more years. Maybe in 40 years you'll be able to go back to Chernobyl. Is what I'm saying.
No, nuclear winter is supposed to be like 10,000 years. Like the half-life of that shit is supposed to be.
Well, but that didn't happen in Chernobyl. So.
I'm sorry, guys. We're really down a path here.
Okay, go ahead.
We're really talking about how crazy
Fine.
it was, guys, in
Yeah.
wars.
Guys in
they
wars,
talked
yeah.
about Dark Knight Rises.
Oh.
Brain.
It's the JRE movie game. The time has come again. For Matt and Simon to rack their brains to guess the budget in the box office. We all know they won't guess the year, and the Patreons are the real winners here at the JRE movie game. Come on, take it away, baby.
It's the movie game where Matt and Simon go head to head to find out what year a movie came out,
Which one are we doing? Dark Knight Rises?
how much it cost to make, and how much it made at the box office. This week we're doing Dark Knight Rises.
What's with the voice?
I don't know. Starring Christian Bale, Michael Caine, Gary Oldman, he's the commissioner, Anne Hathaway, Tom Hardy, Marion Cotillard, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and Morgan Freeman. This is, I think, this is so badass, that scene where they do the guy in the plane. So that's how the movie starts.
Yeah, where
they're
they
on
shoot.
a plane.
Yeah,
There's all
yeah.
security. Then all of a sudden, there's guys on the plane. And the plane, they snap off the wings, and then they don't worry, you're not coming.
He's like, in the Rwandans, when those African kids remake movies? It's Kamar. Somebody, you have everything ready? You're done?
Yeah, I'm done.
I've been watching a thing on YouTube that does a movie, and it has to be AI. Of course, it is in 12 minutes. A full recap of what happens in the movie.
I'm ready, Simon. You have a year?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You go ahead.
Okay, I said 2013.
I said 2010.
Came out 2012.
All right, I said it cost 135 million, and it made 690.2.
I said it cost 82 million and it made 576.
It cost $230 million to make it,
Jesus Christ.
and it made 1.085 billion.
Nice. There you go. We were so off on this one.
He's got to be the best superhero of them all, right?
Who, the rich
Batman?
white guy?
No,
I mean,
no, that's a different
The
discussion.
most successful superhero
of
of them
taken
all?
from the comic book to exploited for it's him and Superman.
It's the
Spider-Man.
It's the most. Spider-Man's pretty fucking.
But that's it. The Avenger Marvel
Kamar,
universe is different.
can
As
I-
a one guy alone.
Can I tell you why?
Sorry.
I think Batman was the most successful because he was the easiest with no CGI, no special effects. He is
No
the
superpowers.
He is the easiest one to replicate on screen. It's just a costume and a bunch of gadgets.
But I liked the comic Daredevil more than Batman when I was a kid.
Yeah, me too. Daredevil was
And
awesome,
it didn't work.
but it was a blind guy. It just you can only get so far,
Well, that's the movie game.
yeah.
They talk about tests of ability, Michael Jordan, all these guys, they just practice. He talks about Kobe Bryant showing the dream team, whatever, and
The Redeem Team,
the redeem team, and they're just talking about the excellence, and then Joe has to bring it back to pool.
of course.
Like, I think he's sure that's the greatest skill game of them all. And he does not like team sports. We learned that.
Who are we
later
doing
on.
right now?
Coleman Hughes, the race baiter.
Thank you. The race baiter.
who went to Juilliard to be a musician, but decided to go to school instead. And he's like a super left wing guy. Have you ever hit a chord on a guitar?
He's a super left wing guy.
yeah.
Okay.
He didn't. Okay. What he said was he's a moderate.
Yeah.
He said he would not vote for Trump. He voted for Hillary.
That's right. You're right. That is true. It's true. He's probably some. If I was to vote there, that's probably what I would have. I didn't want to vote for Trump. I didn't want to vote for Hillary. You just have to pick which side seemed the least egregious at the time. I mean, in retrospect, she's way more egregious.
Yeah, I mean, his concern, he said it too. He said, I just don't think that, and again, Hillary's a warmonger, but he said, I don't think Trump is, what did he say, stable enough to be at the helm during questionable times, tough times.
Yeah, I mean,
can't remember the wording he used,
look,
but
you know how they're like the president really has no power. They can't even find out if aliens exist.
Yeah.
They are the only ones who have the power to shoot off the nuclear bomb. And you know how we think that it's a committee of people. No, it is not. It is the president and the president who decides alone. He can take advice from everyone, or he can tell everyone to shut the fuck up. I'm making this decision. He doesn't, the buck stops there. And I told you this when it takes a half an hour to send a missile we went through this because you got stuck on Antarctica. Forget even Antarctica. That thing has to travel over Russia. I listened to it again.
Yeah, I said it's not Antarctica. It's over
fine.
Russia.
It has to travel over Russia. So it takes 30 minutes for their missile to get here. Okay. You have your missile takes 6 minutes to get to where it's going. So you have 30 minutes to decide what you're going to do. If you shoot that missile, you have to get it in within 6 minutes. You have to get in touch with Vladimir Putin and say, hey, yo, Vlad, we just sent a nuke. It's not coming for you, though, but it's going to come over your country as we try and hit North Korea. Who knows what he's going to do? They have the same mandate over there, probably. The second a nuclear bomb is launched at America, there is no discussion. We have to shoot back immediately. And ours is going to get hit first, and we're going to shoot back
You did this 2
100
weeks ago.
times
This
as
exact
many.
same. You
Yeah.
watched her on
'Cause
Lex.
it's
I know.
amazing, man.
Someone
watched
It's
her on
so
Lex.
right
amazing.
in and tell Simon,
Dude,
you
when
get
I
it.
found out about all this shit, you're just like, and we're worried about groceries at any given moment.
But it's been
we
this way
could-
for 30 years.
But Simon, it's also all mutual destruction, so no one really has their hand on the button.
There is no mutual destruction.
Okay, what is there then?
It's mutual assured destruction.
You talked about nuclear winter. Like if we drop a nuke,
The
an actual,
second, yeah, but we're assuming that the person on the other end wants their nation to survive. What if it's some rogue person? The checks and balances they have in place don't take into account anything but the second we are fired upon, we fire back.
I don't think they're real.
Me neither. But you know what is real? Hitting a chord on a guitar. Have you ever?
He really wanted to get
Has
that.
anyone put your finger on a guitar and,
No.
you hear it like, oh, that's it? And when you don't hear it, it's a great feeling. Especially on an electric guitar, you get some of those.
Dude, you just went from that to that.
Yeah, it's a good subway.
Who fucking cares about the chord on the guitar?
Obviously,
I
Simon's
do.
never hit one.
It's something you can experience.
Oh, I've played the guitar.
And it's cool.
But you've never played the guitar.
Okay, this is the problem. That are we supposed to break down because of threat of a nuclear war? Like, you're right. It's crazy.
Kamara will just be sitting there strumming, playing the E
You
chord.
cannot rush me off mutual destruction to talk about how good it feels to hit a chord.
I'm not rushing, but you did this last week. Like, it's fear mongering. I'm afraid you're going to scare the audience.
Hey, fine. Go ahead. Come on. Go ahead.
They talked about park chess, and that's one of the coolest stories. Is hustlers in New York City making a living playing chess all day? You could only do that in a massive city. There's no place in Ottawa where you could get your hustle on.
I've seen a lot of videos. A lot of them cheat.
Yeah, it's a hustle.
Yeah.
I think there's been a movie about it.
My uncle took my brother one time when they were in New York to one of those underground backgammon clubs.
Yeah.
How old was he?
These things exist. Do you know
New
what
York-
I
In a
mean?
big
It's a
city,
club
in a real
just
big
for
city.
backgammon where people go to illegally bet on backgammon.
But
Like,
it seems all legit.
well, yeah, if you're allowed in, it's all fucking legit. But it's crazy that even exists, you know, to your point.
Yes, absolutely.
But to Kamar's point, there's 7 cities on Earth where all those things exist. And outside of that, it's tough to find. Like you said, you're not going to go to Edmonton and find an underground backgammon
No,
club.
there's some weird number where a city fails. But for a city to have a real city, it needs X amount of homeless and crime and just degradation. Do you know what I mean? Because Ottawa, like we were saying, is a fake city. And then Joe brought the chess hustle back to pool.
Yeah,
And I think Joe has been hustled at pool before
of course he has.
for a couple $1,000s because the story he told, you could hear him almost, his hands sweating as he told about it may have happened to someone else.
It shows you how dumb we are as people, though. That you've seen so many stories. Like you've seen it in movies. You've seen the hustle. You've seen that hustle a million times, but you could still get caught up in it.
Well, you never think it's going to happen to you. That's
I saw the best thing the other day on the internet. This guy was like,
human nature.
this guy's screen name was Elon Musk, and he messages this guy. He's like, "Send me $1 and I'll send you back 2." And the guy's like, "No, it's a scam." And he's like, "I'm telling you, send me $1 and I'll send you back 2." So the guy sends him $1, and Elon Musk sends him back 2. And he's like, "Send me 5 and I'll send you 10." And the guy's like, "No, man, I'm not stupid." So he sends him 5, and the guy sends him back 10. And he's like, "Send me $100, I'll send you 200." And so he does it. And then he's like, "Send me 1,000. I'll send you 1,000." And he sends him 1,000, and then says Elon Musk has left. And then the guy who's just been scammed, he goes to another guy and he's like, "Hey, send me $1. Send me $1 and I'll give you 2." And so the guy sends him $1 and he sends him 2. He's like, "Send me 5, I'll give you 10. I'll give you 10. He sends him 5. He sends him back 10. He's like, "Send me 100, I'll give you 200. And the guy's like, "Nah, I'm good, man. I'm out." So the guy's down like $1,050.
He got figured out. Oh my God, that's horrible.
Even if it's fake, I laughed so fucking
Oh, it's
hard,
fake
dude.
for sure, but it's
Who
funny.
cares? Fucking hilarious.
And they talked a little bit about how countries can get better at sports,
Yeah.
which is really interesting that they focus on something. I mean, hockey, I guess, used to be, and all Canadian players are so good, but all American teams win. But like for a while, it was a joke of the basketball. Americans were so good. Soccer is happening. Just countries come up and all of a sudden they're competitive.
No, hold on. In soccer, who's on the come up?
Before it used to be Team Canada, like in women's soccer, it's more evident.
But in men's soccer, it's pretty much there's no one on the come up.
We made the World Cup. That's something, an improvement.
Well,
it's
you
something
get
that can happen.
You get a team like Portugal. They're not like the top country in the world. You know, they had what's his
They
name.
will
but
in Euro. Soccer's the best.
You know what I'm saying? In like, I don't know. You can get a couple of countries who can
Like
that aren't England, Brazil.
for a while, New Zealand could not lose at rugby, and now some teams
Spain.
have gone up and gotten better. And then they talk about Jake Paul, which is
France,
coming up,
Italy.
which is ridiculous. But if you did not know everything about Jake Paul, and you got introduced to him as this new hotshot boxer,
This is the
you'd
problem.
Look,
You
you'd
wouldn't
look at
be
him a bit different.
you wouldn't be introduced to him as some hotshot boxer.
Well, that's the way it's unfolded. But any other boxer is like, if you watch a fight, there's like, yeah, this guy's on the come up. He's knocking all these people out. They don't say he was working at a FedEx store. But do you know what I mean?
The problem is this: is he's like, okay, the Ben Askren one you wouldn't even count because that's like fighting a soccer mom.
All of them.
Joe was saying, "Oh, what a great!" He fought Nate Robinson, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
He's
Basketball
a
player.
basketball player.
Yeah, he fought
He's
Ben
not- he's
Askren,
not
a
a
jiu-jitsu
boxer.
expert or a wrestling expert. Yeah, I mean, listen, Kamar, this is my point: is like I bet you there's fucking 10 6-0 amateur boxers out there, or like on Jake Paul's level. You're never going to hear about them until they're
Agreed.
25 and 0.
100%.
So my point is, you wouldn't even hear about Jake Paul for another 15 fights, even if he was starching people.
Okay, so if he had gone about his way of not talking to anybody and not no one finding out because he needs to stroke his ego and do these huge, massive events,
Yeah.
and he just came out of, he'd seem like, who's this guy?
Well, we don't know that. He hasn't fought any boxers yet. He's only fought
Fury.
washed up UFC fighters.
Hold on,
and,
Tommy
he,
Fury.
and he lost.
Yeah.
Did he lose to Tommy
Yes,
Fury?
he lost to Tommy
Was it a
Fury.
decision?
In a decision.
Everyone here wants Mike Tyson to knock him out.
No, everyone in the world.
Wait, but I'm speaking for us when I say that.
I want Mike Tyson to bite his ear off.
Oh, no.
That's the only thing that will bring me any satisfaction.
And so
I want him to fuck him like he loves him.
right now, the podcast is sort of going good. They're playing around, and Coleman takes a hard turn when they're joking about Kurt Metzger and says, "Yeah, I want to take an umbrage with what you guys said last week about the actions of Israel," and went hard in the paint for Israel. And I think made a compelling case that, like, if you really want to do something, that's how it's going to have to get
I don't
done.
think he was necessarily going hard in the paint for Israel. I think he was going hard in the paint against terrorism. And if you don't stand up for it, then that's just going to open the door for a lot of other of these cells to start doing the same thing, because they're going to see that there's no response because the humanitarian fight is bigger than I don't know. That's what I was getting from it anyways.
I took it more as him being like, we have no leg to stand on in telling Israel what
that
they're doing
too.
is wrong, because we go in places and we kill just as many innocent people to kill.
Way more, pal.
Yeah, that was his point.
Way more.
Okay, you don't need to pal me. I'm trying to back you
No,
up here.
I'm saying though, like, pal, that's way
it
more.
really caught Joe by surprise.
Well, because again, if you use logic and numbers, like when you hear, listen, we're caring people. The three of us at this table, I believe, are caring people. So when you hear 50,000, I know the number's lower than that. If you hear 50,000 innocent people have been bombed to death, you don't want to hear that. That hurts. You're like, you don't, And then when you break it down, that it's like, oh, well, the fake war we fought in Afghanistan, we also killed 50,000 innocent people to kill 8,000 Taliban. You're like, well, wait a minute. Like, I was for that. We did that in the name, you know what I mean? And all of a sudden it's like, well, hold on. Is there a difference? No.
Yeah, I don't know.
And
Either way, that's why we haven't been speaking a lot about it, because it's greasy what's going on over there.
they talk about another episode, but just war crimes like okay, I'm guilty, but it happened. Like it's just something that can't actually be. It can be enforced down the road if powers that be get together. But it's not like countries can fly in when a war crime's going like, whoa, stop! This is a war crime. You're under arrest. You're under arrest.
It's all a joke anyway, though.
It's
because
almost like it's a joke. Yeah.
No, but it is, because if you're from a third world country, you can go to jail for war crimes. They'll hang you, whatever. If you're from a developed country, you're absolutely never getting arrested for war crimes.
War crimes
Barack Obama is guilty of war crimes.
War crimes are like speed limits.
Yeah.
It exists, but
Yeah.
not everyone sticks to them no matter what. And then finally, Joe said, I don't know why the algorithm is sending me all this violence and death and destruction.
Well, you watch 4 videos a morning. That's why. Yeah.
We've
Like, what are
gone
you
over
doing?
this.
Yeah.
All my phone is tits. I want to get some of the violence. I don't understand what's going on there.
It doesn't even make sense. He tells the stupid cat analogy all the time. Ari only watched cats
Yeah.
and he only got cats. Joe only watches people get their face ripped off by buses and machinery. That's what you're going to get.
You read what you... So,
What's weird too is you have 2 phones and you probably have a burner Instagram account as well. So like you could even do this thing on your own where you could have your shitty, weird burner Tom Segura account.
Yeah. If I was rich,
Yeah.
every time I got sick of like my algorithm on my phone, I would just toss it. Phone goes in the garbage. I buy a new phone. It's a whole new algorithm.
once it figured you out.
Yeah.
It's not hooked up to your phone
Yeah.
though. It's
No,
hooked up to all your accounts.
Whole new account,
no.
man.
There you
I
go.
don't care.
There you
I'd have
go.
my assistant do it.
I like that.
Yeah, I thought this was an interesting discussion. And
Actually, a lot of my assistant's time would be taken up by just
New SIM cards and
disposing of
phones.
phones
Yeah.
and accounts.
I give it a 3.5.
3.5.
I give it a 3.
I thought this was a good discussion.
It was a good discussion.
Yeah.
I don't know if it warrants a 3.5, but 3 is a solid number.
That's fine. No one's angry at you, Simon. All right, we're going to take a break. I don't think we're going to pay a bill. Maybe we are. Who knows? And we will be right back. We're back. Thank you to the patrons. You guys are the fucking shit. Kamar, name and a number.
2131, Brian Simpson.
Do you think Joe watched his special?
No, I tried to watch it. He's so relaxed and laid back. But I think I'm more watch it just to see what it looked like inside the
Mothership.
for a long time.
He did it in the little room
It's really good.
or the big one?
I think it's the big one. Seems really big. I mean, it's so dark. The lights are so bright, you can't really get a feel for how big the room is, but it was funny. I'm actually going to go to the end for the beginning. Just they were talking about body hair trimming only started
In the 20s?
something like that.
Yeah.
People just
We're gross.
weren't grooming. How bad did everyone smell? Because there's a guy I work with who has some body odor that will make you throw up if you're in it too long. But that's natural. We're supposed to sort of, right? We've decided as a society we want to.
Well, no, you're talking about
perfumes and stuff like
deodorant.
that.
I don't know when deodorant. Perfume's been around a lot longer than the
But
20s.
deodorant does nothing for your health.
No.
Maybe your sexual health that you can get laid. 'cause you
It's
don't
for
stink,
other
but-
people.
Yeah.
You're doing it for other people. It was kind of like the vaccine.
Yeah.
You were taking it for the benefit of everyone
Well, that's
else.
what we thought. If they make the perfect robot sex doll and then take your algorithm so it knows.
Yeah, it's over. I'm with Joe. It's over.
Absolutely over. And they have all the data. She'll
Actually-
know about your favorite football team, or she'll know you don't. It's.
They
No.
know what you jerked off to.
No, because you know what they'll do, Kamar? They'll program the sex doll like they would a normal woman, where you still have to go to, like, the sex doll will be like, you missed work today, you know? Like,
For some realism.
no, just so that society doesn't crumble. Because, like you said, like most of us, like the reason you strive for greatness is because you could be Harvey Weinstein ugly,
Pussy.
but if you get rich, yeah, you're gonna slay.
Once we all go into the Matrix,
Yeah.
like once they make these Apple things for your eyes and everybody's just, the world is over. Like nobody is going to pay attention
The
to
world
what
as we
happens
know it.
in the outside world.
But keep in mind, when the television came around, they said the same thing.
I mean, you want to know what? Now that I think about it, the very best thing we could do for the environment would probably be to put everybody into a simulation game, and then nobody's out driving, nobody's out doing anything. They're just thinking they're out driving and thinking they're out fucking polluting.
Well, no, you make a good point.
Thinking
Like,
they should feel guilty for what they're not doing.
Well, they don't, because you're in this game.
No, but even then, if you really wanted to end human suffering and death,
Just
yeah, if you die, you immediately, you're back in.
there would be no more wars. There would be no more anything because you would just go and simulate all that shit.
Yeah. Which is the argument for why we're in a simulation now.
But why would there be war in the simulation then?
Why wouldn't there be?
If-
You're still simulating life.
Yeah, but why? I get okay. If we were really in a simulation,
Yeah.
why would it? I guess
you're-
it could just be any simulation.
See, you're
if
thinking-
they're running 1,000,000 at a time.
You're also thinking about it like our pain is real, like our suffering is real. If you create a simulation, like when I play Grand Theft Auto, if I beat a hooker to death, there's no part of me that's like, someone's really feeling this pain, right? But within that simulation, they could be feeling pain. You get what I'm saying? Like,
If we're the ones who we're kind of talking about a matrix that was created by like overlords. What if the matrix was created by us, like we are doing right now with AI? Why would we not program that simulation to be the best experience possible?
because none of us have the same. It's the same reason why Coleman and the chick from The View read the Martin Luther King thing differently. Your utopia is much different than mine. Vastly different.
I mean, no war. We can probably mostly agree on that, no?
Not if 5% of us are psychopaths. That means 5% of the people out there have no problem with war whatsoever.
And what
You see
about
what
the
I'm saying?
idea
Like-
that the simulation only functions when someone's consciousness is powering it?
Simon, I also got to say, you're forgetting that in the Matrix, they said, Agent Smith says, he's like, we tried to create the perfect utopia and it kept crashing because you people don't have, there is no
Consensus.
Which goes back to the Bible, right? Like they had paradise and couldn't leave the apple alone.
Yeah.
Heavy stuff. Another thing that they talked
Thanks.
about, which is just, I guess, come apparent, is the lie is more powerful than the truth.
Well, it was interesting when they played that Hitler clip.
If you want to do for me what I've done for you,
Well, he just sounds like every other leader in history. Like, whereas before, when it's not translated, he sounds like a really aggressive, angry, like, we must go out and kill the Jews. It doesn't sound like he's like, I've been out there fighting for you and we should go fight together. You know what I mean? Like, it changes it for sure. I mean, again,
Well, the whole idea of the Second World War, they had been beat up so bad in the First World War, the Germans, that their country had been put into like a depression, and then they're working their way out of that. Like you would have country support,
National pride.
brewing.
Yeah.
So that's the perfect way to do that. And then you slip in, oh, by the way, we're also going to eradicate this whole.
in this instance, they were talking more about the COVID information stuff. Lies that have come and truth still hasn't sort of exposed them like you would think. And it's a weird thing how if it gets out first, the lie, could it be about Joe, about ivermectin being horse paste, or, I mean, JFK, just pick a thing where there's a lie, which is an actual, for some people, accepted truth.
well, I think we all have, I mean, I don't know. I don't think we really know anything about history.
Okay, yeah. Do you think you know more now
No.
than you did 5 years ago?
No, I know far less.
Yes.
You think you know more? I feel like
100%.
you. I feel like I'm dumber and know less about what I thought, what I thought my convictions were, or something like that. You
First of
think
all,
you know more.
It's like history is interesting in general because if you think about it, like it's just so massive. History. Even if you just took 5,000 years, every country, all the people, like history is
Or just
so
pick Napoleon or
Sure.
Marco Polo, or just one part of history is so big.
it's so vast and so easy to lie about.
Well,
is
and
my
then
point.
you have to go back and figure out where you're getting your sources from.
That's what. That's the
yeah,
point I was
it's-
getting
it's
to. Is it's so.
insane.
It's such a
the
big.
lie is more powerful than the truth.
Look at JFK, man. That's a perfect example because that happened like really not that long ago,
70 years, yeah,
and
60 years. I guess.
it's totally different than the narrative, and that's in a short period of time. You would think that in a longer period of time more would come to light, but who even knows? If you're not out looking for the truth, and they told you Egypt is this way and there's never a Graham Hancock or whatever, You never know any differently.
But knowing differently doesn't really help us either. It just makes us question more.
Let me ask you a question. Short of every single government document being released unredacted, what, like, if someone came out right now and was like, I know exactly what happened to JFK, this is it, would you believe it?
No, I've heard lots of people say that.
That's
You
a-
would need the proof. But some people
But even
are
then,
able
what is, I think my point though is like, what is proof enough to you at this point?
Well, for me now, there is proof enough that the
Okay.
CIA killed JFK.
Fair enough.
That I've seen enough. I've seen enough connections be made to.
When I showed you that video where the guy said it was actually the Mossad working via the CIA because they wanted the bomb for Israel, right?
Yeah,
like
but
that.
I said I was okay with that because
Yeah,
it still meets the
The
needs
CIA
of
yeah.
the government and what they were trying to do. They couldn't have this guy in charge. That was not going to work
Yeah.
for the way the military-industrial complex wanted to run shit.
Fair enough, yeah. I agree with you, though. I mean, listen, I think I go back to it, like, we don't even know what proof is anymore. Like I said, if someone showed up tomorrow with 6,000 unredacted government documents, there would be a plethora of people out there saying these are doctored, they're fake, they're not real, it's missing the watermark or whatever. You know what I mean? There's no way for you to definitively right now say, oh, it's all just guesses. Because we just don't, like, they're so good at disinformation now. We can't believe anything. You cannot believe anything.
Well, it's like the aliens. Even if they came with a video now, how the fuck would you know if that was real or not?
Kamar could,
'Cause
using
the
Dolly, Kamar
the
could give you a
government
fucking...
released it?
Yeah,
That doesn't make any sense. They're the ones we trust the least.
there you go.
It's been a week. They actually started off talking about the boat. Do you guys have any more theories about the Baltimore Bridge disaster?
I mean, I've heard a lot of theories about it.
It now feels like it's just a boat that hit.
I mean, it always felt like a boat that just
to
hit
me,
to
the
be
most
honest.
egregious part of it is that you have a boat that can destroy a bridge and you have no fail safe in place to make sure that that doesn't happen.
It definitely is worrisome that, like, I mean, again, we don't live in a place where there's like massive tanker ships. So like our bridges are widely protected from massive ships hitting them. But it does, like, we live in a city where there's so many bridges, a ton of bridges over water. And you just drive over them every day thinking like this is a well-engineered bridge. You don't think that, like, hey, if a cargo ship hit this, the whole thing would just come down like a house of cards. You would have never thought that. So that is definitely a little...
No, and that's what I mean. Why is there not some sort of barrier around those poles to make sure that a boat can never get there? Isn't it better that that boat breaks
Yeah.
than the
Yeah.
bridge breaks?
Yeah. Like when I lived in Vancouver, like the Lionsgate Bridge, like there's tanker ships going under that thing all the fucking time. And
But isn't it fully suspended? Like there is no...
And you're just counting on some.
No,
in
they're-
the water?
ooh, they might not be in the water. That might... No, there is a post in the water for sure.
You're just counting on some guy not being drunk at the wheel. That seems like a big fucking risk to take.
Well, it's not just being drunk at the wheel. Like what we learned from that one in Italy with the cruise ship is that, like, if the winds are right and you lose power,
Well, he was drunk.
it doesn't matter. The point is they lost power and then the winds just brought them in there. Drunk or not, like if you lose power, you know, either way.
I just, yeah, there's a lot that we take for granted. Look, I mean, 9/11 was a perfect example of that. We all thought that planes could never be used as weapons. You know what I'm saying? And
It
we know
indeed has
better
a
now.
post, and it opened in 1938.
In the water, right? Yeah, yeah.
And this bridge has lasted that long. And how did they build it? Did they have better? They didn't have better technology.
No.
They had worse safety standards.
Well, we see that shit happening in Montreal all the time, where a piece falls off the bridge onto the fucking auto route.
That's the mob.
Yeah, no, I mean, but
corruption.
But a lot of infrastructure projects
we're
in
done by the
were
mob. I
done
agree.
by
Yeah,
people
100%.
who were cutting corners.
Yeah.
You know, that doesn't leave you with a lot of. That's why I hate driving in big cities. I hate being stuck on the bridges or in the tunnels or like it's ugh.
Well, especially Montreal, dude. Those fucking, the highway's like 300 feet off the fucking...
New York is the craziest I've ever been to, where it's the 4 lanes on coming across that bridge.
Brooklyn Bridge, I think.
I guess whatever. It's
George
like
Washington.
4 levels of cars on top of each other on this bridge, or maybe one's underneath the water
talking about the
or
tunnel?
something.
That's a tunnel, and there's also
There's the Jersey Tunnel.
because it's a real city, man.
There's the BQE, the Brooklyn Queens Express.
When you're coming in from, I think it's from Jersey,
Yeah. You got to take the
And-
tunnel. You would hate the tunnel.
you come out of the tunnel and you're coming up onto like the highway or the
the highway that goes around the outside of Manhattan. What the fuck is it
yeah,
called?
and then you can see there's like 4 levels of things going on. I guess one of them is the tunnel because
Yeah.
you're coming out of the tunnel, and then it's like 1, 2, and I guess one is going somewhere. I don't know.
George Washington's double decker.
There's a lot fucking happening there.
Yeah.
They also talked about UFOs, but more like the speed of the machines and talking about fighter pilots. Like, there's nothing we know that could hold itself together in the kind of G-force.
Yeah, they have-
13,000 G's is what
They
he
have
said.
to break the speed of light. It's,
Or could you be in another dimension while you're in this thing?
I have to tell you about this documentary or about this movie. Just the premise. It's so fucking cool.
Fine, go.
Okay, so
But you're a
China-
real dipshit, just for the record.
Okay, forget it.
No, I want to
Forget
hear it now.
No.
No,
it's fine.
China.
I know, no,
I'm
no.
listening.
I'm gonna give away nothing. Okay.
I have a fucking tough time believing
I know
that.
it's not. I'm just gonna let you watch it. It's
Okay.
fine. It's fine.
Simon, you're going to get a text from me tonight, like 4 episodes in, saying this is great, and then we can talk about it.
Okay, we'll talk about it next week.
I watched Voyeur 20 minutes after you left.
Okay, both of you need to watch this. It's imperative.
Hey, Scout's honor, up my ass, okay? Go ahead, come on.
Sorry, Kamar. Go back to your things.
Brian made an interesting point that tough old people.
Oh no. What were we talking about? The UFOs. I'm sorry. We rushed right over.
Oh, sorry.
That. I got distracted.
UFOs, human form couldn't go withstand the G forces unless you could be interdimensional while you're traveling,
Right.
and your bits catch up with you when you land or something.
Right. Well, the whole idea behind remember Star Trek beaming? Like they were literally breaking your body down
Into
into
little
all the
atoms.
little cells, sending those through
Light.
light, and then reattaching you at your present destination.
And not around a fence or something.
I mean, just the idea of traveling at the speed of light, we don't have a good way to sleep ourselves and wake ourselves back up, like a cryogenic sleep where you sleep for 40 years or whatever. Once we figure that out, that's a huge part of the problem, you know?
Stop aging while you travel or something.
No, then they just won't have to, they'll put you in some like ball in the ship and they won't have to worry. So you're not flying, you're not thinking, you're not having to do anything in that ship. It's just a transport for you.
But it'll be physical.
It'll be physical. That's thinking that we have our same skills as right now today.
Did they ever explain in Star Trek? I heard you talking about the particles, how
Yeah.
they would like beam people around. Did they ever explain how they could go as fast as they do with everyone just being fine in the deck?
Just like the airplane, I assume.
No, because we know the G forces on that thing. Like they're traveling faster than the speed of light.
I'm sure they had figured out some way to contain the inside of the ship to natural,
Some sort of interdimensional
because they go to warp speed.
split.
Yeah.
My point is, like Joe said, the Tic Tac had a G force of 13,000 Gs, which would obviously eviscerate any human being. So you would assume that the Star Trek Enterprise is probably moving at somewhere along that same speed or faster.
Faster.
There you go. So it's probably
I
like,
think warp speed is way faster than light
so there you
speed.
go. So it's probably like 150,000 Gs.
Again, you're talking about a civilization at that point that's like a type 2 or whatever.
I was just wondering if they had written in somewhere.
I'm sure they have. I just don't know the answer to it, but they didn't leave holes like that in Star Trek. They explained everything.
Interesting. I
And
mean, they
you-
had 8 different universes to do it in. So
And you know the whole like Majestic 8 was supposed to be this like group of people that met to discuss the alien thing.
Yeah.
And Roddenberry used to sit in on those meetings apparently, and this is where he formulated his whole idea of like the federation and there being multiple races, and probably listened to a lot of technology talk and then incorporated things like that into his show as well. I mean, they had cell phones before we did. Those
yeah, but I've always said that's not a hard like as soon as you have the phone, it's not a big leap for someone to say one day I'm going to have this in my pocket.
Yeah, that's true.
I think what was disappointing for me about this podcast is for a big part of it, Brian just interviewed Joe about UFC.
First of all, Brian spoke 15 words in the first 35 minutes of this podcast. It was all Joe.
I mean, he was here to promote a special, but
which came out a month and a half ago.
He just did that thing where he kept interviewing Joe, and Joe was more than happy to talk about it. The one thing is that the fights used to go to the end. I don't really remember that. I wasn't a big fan, but there was no time limit on the fights. It was just like, no weight class, go.
I'm pretty sure there was time limits.
He's insisting it was to the end.
I just remember I loved that it was like Iron Man. Like you fought 3 fucking fights a night. Like, oh, you broke your hand? Tough luck. Like
my favorite part was that it was like blood sport, that you got all these different looking types.
No weight classes
fighters.
either.
Yeah.
The best, like one of the dude, still to this day, one of the best knockouts in UFC history is Big Daddy Goodrich getting the guy in the crucifix and just laying down fucking elbows on his head.
You feel like someone should jump in there and stop a crime from being committed.
Well,
Big John jumps in, but it's like it's already the damage is done. He's eating like 8 fucking lightning fast elbows.
Yeah, that was crazy.
But that's one of those defining moments too, where like you can play that clip for the next 15, 20 years and people are still like, holy shit. Like that's the early days of the UFC. Because I got to be honest, like those Hoist Gracie fights were boring as shit. I mean, that's the idea of jiu-jitsu. It's we're going to take this to the ground to my domain and I'm just going to fold your clothes with you in them. But like I watched a lot of those Hoist Gracie fights. Fuck, they were just so boring.
No, I just think it was the underdog thing.
Literally.
Well, of course, it was watching a 5'6" Brazilian.
It's the Karate Kid come to life. Very interesting development in the baseball with Shohei Ohtani.
Well, have you read into it? Have you, Simon?
No.
It's bad. It's bad.
Of course it's bad, but it's your biggest star.
No, but
It's just as bad as Pete Rose.
It's way worse.
So it's way worse. Right there.
So, Simon, here's the story, just to explain how bad.
Is this the pitcher hitter guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing is made of gold. The whole world's a sham.
His hometown, the bookie in his hometown, takes like an $8 million bet that the Padres are going to score over a certain amount of runs against the Los Angeles Angels with Shohei Ohtani pitching. And Shohei got fucking lit up that game. And he doesn't usually get lit up. So just think about the optics of that. This guy who's already making all the money in the world potentially goes and drops $8 million on himself to get lit up.
Why would he need to? Making so much money, why would you need
Well,
more
is he
money,
Japanese?
you know?
Yeah.
If the Yakuza is involved,
Interesting.
you got to watch Tokyo Vice.
I have watched it, man.
Well, that is a good
And
point.
he
Yeah.
needs a guy, Jin, but it's all about his dad might owe someone some crazy thing. Like,
Also, too, in his defense, I'm not saying it's defendable, but like if you find out that there is some sort of mob tie, the Angels at that point, I didn't look at the game, but the Angels were not a great team. At that point, the game probably meant nothing in 162. Like if you're a mid-tier team and it's the end of the season, you know you're not making the playoffs, I'm sure you're like, fuck it, I'll just throw some fucking softballs right down the middle and just get...
I mean, you're already making your cash. Like he's not, it doesn't matter how many games he plays. It doesn't matter if they make the playoffs. Like, I don't see why he would have to
keep
go
an eye on his
that.
hands.
But here's the thing, Kamar.
If he's losing fingers.
They cut off the finger, you do it, then they drive you to hospital, they put it back on.
Just let me ask you this, though. Let's say you're Shohei Ohtani and the Yakuza come to you and they're like, we want you to throw this game. We're going to bet whatever amount of money. Like, they probably didn't make more than $10 million off that bet. If you're Shohei, why wouldn't you just be like, I'll just pay you the $10 million. Just fuck off. I'm not throwing my career away, right? Like,
or they're threatening to kill his family or something like that.
Just seems odd. Like there's easier ways for the
Well,
Yakuza to make $8
But
million.
they could make
They're
more.
not.
Why is it just 8 million? Maybe there was a lot more betting that went on that we don't even know about. Or
My point is this
in
one
other countries.
this one $8 million bet, if you just take that one and say that's the Yakuza, unless like you know how betting works, Simon, they give you an over and under, and it's like a minus 115 on either side. Now, if you have it set up, you could go, okay, I'm going to go over 7 runs, which maybe you get like a plus 300 on. So I guess in that case, you make $32 million on your 8, and then it's, I don't know. I just listen, there's a lot of dicey shit going on with players and gambling lately. And for a guy like Shohei, like we understand Jonte Porter, okay? His brother's a somewhat big star. He is a G leaguer at best playing for the Raptors. He's probably not going to make the big bucks. He's probably never going to be a starter. It makes a little more sense when you think about it for him. Big $1 million payday. But Shohei, like $500 million, you're like, what is this guy doing? There's no reason. And it also, as someone who bets on this shit, I don't like it one fucking iota.
You saw that guy Pinto for the Senators. He got 40-game suspension for some
we
sort
don't
of
even
gambling
know
thing.
what the fuck happened there.
Yeah.
I think he bet through someone else's VPN or something. Michael Jackson fame, biggest fame we've ever seen. Biggest fame we'll ever see.
I would say the Beatles or Elvis.
Michael Jackson?
Yeah.
I think he's bigger.
Than the Beatles. I mean, listen, it's tough to say because you can't have a Michael Jackson without the Beatles, right? Like that's fair to say. Without the Beatles fame first, it's tough to so. But I would argue
universally around the world.
I would still say Taylor Swift is bigger.
That's interesting. Maybe she is, but he was just
But it's the same thing, Kamar. Without Michael
big
Jackson,
from kid to death. And he went crazy.
yeah, I get what you're
It's
saying.
not natural.
But the Jackson 5 weren't as popular as Michael Jackson.
No, they were not. No, it was tied to the thing that kids say, what do you want when you grow up as famous?
Yeah.
And I don't think when I was a kid, I was like, I'd like to be like Michael Jackson. And they brought up another thing, which we'll get into in the next episode, is J-Lo sucks. Nothing she's ever done is good.
She was hot.
She's a beautiful woman.
And she dated Puffy.
She
That's what
dated
made her-
Puffy. Exactly.
That's what started her on.
She
her
nearly went
climb.
to jail for Puffy.
And we'll leave that as a cliff hanger. The last thing I want to talk about is they talked about Chris Rock and Will Smith and how bad he fucked up that night.
I just think it's the grossest was like they said, watching everyone give him the standing ovation. You'd think you would have seen 5 people sitting there with their arms crossed, like I'm not standing up for this bullshit.
But is that just sort of this sickness that we have as a society?
Like shame on Denzel Washington.
Yeah,
Oh yes, for
being black in there and
Yeah.
not slapping Will Smith.
Yeah.
and just starting a whole
He, like, hugged him and told him-
words with Suge Knight.
Listen, that should, first of all, he should have been escorted out of there. Maybe not in handcuffs, but not allowed to get the Oscar. That's fucking bullshit.
Dude, this isn't hockey. I definitely would have sent someone over and said, "We don't care that you're nominated. You have to leave."
100%.
You just assaulted
Oscar
someone
rules.
on television.
100%. We're going to
code.
deal with the fallout of this the way we deal with it, but you've
Code
got
of the
to
Oscars.
go.
The code of the Oscars. They should
And I
have
would've-
taken his Oscar away.
No, I would have given him the Oscar, but I would have said there is no one accepting this Oscar for Will Smith due to what
that's
happened
right.
earlier tonight.
Oh, no, he can still win.
Yeah.
He just can't go up there and accept the award and make a fucking speech.
Even better, accepting the award, Chris Rock.
I mean, that's...
Dude, then he gets to do 5 minutes on Jada Pinkett Smith.
I think they just say the words and you move on. It's already a fucking debacle. Anyways, I can't believe we're talking about...
I think this was a
Chris
horrible
Rock.
episode, but all the interview with the UFC was not my bag. I give this a 2.5.
Yeah, there was no need for all the fight talk in this.
It was like an hour, man. It was
It's
crazy.
a 3-hour podcast. And the ones of more substance, Coleman and Holtman, were all
Yeah, we're
2
shorter.
hours.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I give this one like a 2. I think I'm being generous too. It wasn't a great episode.
No,
Not my
I'll follow
favorite.
your two.
And I like Brian Simpson.
Yep.
Like funny guy, great guy. Just this episode wasn't for me. Go ahead, Kumar.
Oh, yeah.
This episode, just no. need for this.
21-32, Andrew Schulz. In town, had to get off his chest. He talked about that CIA guy who we all know is just promoting the CIA.
Bustamante.
And it's a recruitment tour.
This was a 4-hour BetterHelp session. That's what this was. I was telling Kamar, this was nothing short of psychology.
He's experiencing fatherhood, and
psychiatry.
he wants to go what he thinks. But really, the meat and potatoes of this podcast was Diddy.
The amount of times he was like, straw man that for me. I was like, dude, just stop. Just stop.
But that's all Lex.
He's so fucking phony.
Who
He
is?
is Andrew Schulz is
I said this
so
from the beginning.
phony.
I said this from the beginning for the record.
So phony.
I think it's the way you act around people. Because one of the points they brought up in this is,
Look at all the fucking notes he has for this one. Sweet Jesus.
but you see there's highlighted ones, is Joe's, they talked about,
Still scrolling.
he talked about calling people out, and Joe said, I will not. If there's something, like admitting, and we've complained in the past that this topic was there, say you're Sheldon Johnson, whatever, just says, that's not what I'm doing. You know, for better or for worse, like, so it's not a secret.
But you're saying Schulz does call people out.
I feel like there's a hierarchy between all these guys as friends, and there's a way they act around each other.
It felt like he was pandering when he was like, Shane, like just his come up and how he nearly got canceled.
Especially
Like,
if you watch the Schulz versus Shane
Well,
videos
him
out
and
there.
yeah,
I know.
that's like a
knowing what
whole-
we know, that's what I'm saying. Like it almost felt like he was just trying to bring up that he was canceled more than give him his flowers.
I feel like Schulz totally understands the internet and he understands viral clips and things like that. So he's like a Logan Paul in that sense. And that I feel just pulls the authenticity out of any venture that you're doing because you've broken it down to the numbers at that point and you're just like, I don't know. I find him, if you look back on his podcast, when he calls people out, it's like not for the betterment of the conversation. It's for like the clip it's going to produce, you know?
Simon, I saw a great tweet the other day. It was this guy. He's an artist. He's a musician, I think, and he said, "I just wanted to be a great artist. I didn't want to learn to juke an algorithm."
Yeah.
And I read that and I was like, "This is exactly what we're doing here. No one's trying to create anything incredible. We're all just trying to find a way around this fucking horseshit algorithm." Like,
For the money.
No, but you will see true people doing it. They just won't be successful at it. You know what I mean?
no, but they'll be successful, but they won't have the level of success of like a Jake Paul or something like that. You know what I mean? Which is actually fine. Like we do this weird thing where, and I get it, it's capitalism, make the most money, but like, if you could make $1 million off your art, you should be fucking ecstatic.
Oh, so happy. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you should, like at that point, you should be the happiest person on
That's
earth.
like the best case scenario. If you can make a lot of money and not get famous, that's fucking
It's true, yeah.
booyah.
But all these guys talk about how if you get famous, you need to make enough money that you can help people around you because it's lonely. So they always, once you get going, then it's a machine you're sort of supporting.
Listen, I'm not going to.
That's obviously where Bert is stuck.
One of the biggest reasons I want to get rich is just to repay everyone. And I know I'm never going to get there or get to do it, but that's like,
It's a nice verbal promise, though.
there's a lot of couches I slept on. There's a lot of fucking people.
You're going to buy everyone a new couch.
Well, no, like I probably owe Simon like, I don't know, 16 pounds of weed somewhere along the line.
And just one day, what?
Yeah.
I never forgot. Yeah.
Well, no, just like,
Here's
dude.
$1 million.
Yeah, exactly.
I
no.
relish that day.
No, but like a car, you know what I mean? Like, dude, that George Clooney shit where when he hit it big, when he sold his tequila company and he brought his 10 friends to Italy and he gave them each a briefcase with $1 million. Like,
That's incredible.
I cannot imagine a greater
I don't
feeling.
feel like I'm on your 5-guy list.
You're not, unfortunately.
That would be incredible. But nobody ever does
The
that.
feeling, though, of can you imagine giving your 10 closest friends financial freedom?
Yeah, it must be an amazing feeling.
I can't imagine it. I cannot.
Yeah.
Like, Simon, think about it. You and I the other night were relishing over
Yeah.
winning like 17 grand
Yeah.
together. You know? We didn't win 17 grand, by the way, but the thought of it alone, we were both like, let's get rich together. Like, yeah. I get that. I totally understand the like wanting to, I don't know, bring your people with you. I think for them, though, it's more that the road is lonely. Like, I think that's the point they were making was like, if you're going to be on the road for 200 days of the year, you might as well bring 3 people you really like and make slightly less
What's
money.
that worth to you?
Exactly.
So, yeah, I don't want to get too stuck in this because you guys hate him.
I don't hate them.
No,
It all just like,
One of the interesting things they talked about was the building of the pyramids and how it would have had to been a peaceful time because you couldn't be fighting these wars and doing that. And it would be a peaceful time for uncharacteristic of the humanity we know where there's wars every 5 years or what, a strife and killing. It would have had to be a period of peace for that
But
matter.
does it though? Like if we're a lot more spread out back then. Like dude, first of all, if it's 15,000 years ago, right? Like we don't have a date, right? So
But even fighting
no,
amongst
but hear me out.
themselves.
When they teach us 5,000 years, that changes it, right? Because then we know where people were a little bit more. But if you go back 15, 20,000 years, you don't know how sparse.
Well, and if you have a civilization that's able to build something like the pyramids, let's equate that to like America today.
Sure, they might have an army that fucking...
You're still out fighting tons of wars. It's just not happening on your land because you're the king of the castle and
Yeah.
nobody's coming to fuck with you.
yeah.
Maybe they had a nuclear weapon and everybody else was afraid
So
of
you
them.
disagree with that thought? That's not necessarily
No, it's
I
the
just
case.
don't know if that's necessarily the case. And also,
agree.
we don't know how long it took them to build those things. We assume that by our standards, it took them a really long time. But if they had technology that we don't understand, they could have also built those things a lot quicker than we understand. So it might not have been such a long time. You could have been talking about a year.
We also do this weird thing though, where like we don't live like they did. Like they had no problem being like, I'm going to spend 50 years building this, and when I die, my son's going to continue on building it for another.
Again, we assume that. We have no idea if that's the way it worked.
Okay, but how about this? What's that building in Barcelona? The Gaudi? Is that the one that's still in construction? It's been built for like 70 years.
Okay.
Well, my point is like we always look at construction projects like they have to be done quick and they have to be done effective because there are some people that just for some reason have. It's like the Illuminati. I know this is a weird one, but like I find the Illuminati odd because I can't see 3 generations in the future, like past me. Like when I die, I'm dead, and I'm not trying to control the world past where I'm gone. So it's weird to me to think that like someone 5,000 years ago was like, I'm going to pass this stonecutter thing on, and we're going to continue it on. You have to be, you know what I mean? You have to have a specific personality to have that kind of.
Unless we lived longer, which
Sure,
would
that's possible, yeah.
erase that, right? Because you'd be like experiencing that instead of
Sure.
it being your.
I mean, listen, if they were
ancestors.
super advanced, they might have had medicine that we have no idea about. And yeah, like you said, maybe there was no disease. There was nothing holding anyone back. We don't know. Maybe they were stronger. Maybe they were 10 feet tall.
Maybe they were in Antarctica. Did you listen to that clip about the super weapon in
I
Antarctica?
did, yeah.
You heard that before?
I've heard something like that before, yeah.
Because they spoke that still is a glaring thing of the way we are, such a exploratory, curious sort that we just sort of don't worry about what's down there.
Yeah, no.
I mean, the
it's-
conditions obviously are very hard to work. The same reason why we don't go under the water.
It seems odd. It almost seems like there's other people living here and we're aware of it, but we're not allowed to know that they exist.
We are not allowed
We are not allowed.
because of social breakdown.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would fucking send everybody for a loop if we found out that there was a whole race of people living underneath our oceans.
It would definitely not be great.
I'd like to know more about this service that Andrew was talking about where a billionaire can have sex with anyone they want in the world.
I've heard
do you
about
mean?
that
That's-
before.
It's called a harem. Those rich Dubai guys get women to come and shit on their chest.
He was saying if there's a girl on Sports Illustrated and some guy on his jet sees her, he calls a number, and there's just a number because there's no number that a human being is going to ask for that even touches, and there's just a number.
Like if you want to have sex with,
Kate Upton.
I was gonna, yeah,
Maybe not
sure.
a married woman. Maybe there's some
but
sort
maybe there's a number for that too.
of, for him too. The husband, everyone gets a
Like
compensation.
maybe there's just an offer. You never even know that it gets offered, and if they say no, it just never happens.
and you
But
think that'd mess with your self-esteem, but you don't know the money. It's not. You can't feel the loss of the
it's
money.
like that stupid movie Indecent Proposal.
I mean, I'm going to take Kate Upton out of there, but I would say that 98% of the women on Earth
Have a
if
number.
the price is right. Yeah.
I'm just saying, you go to a concert, spend $1,500 of your money. Say it was just crazy. You'd be like, wow, it was all right. I don't know if I do it again. But you give a girl $3 million just to have sex with her. You
I'm
don't
just saying,
even know you did it.
Kate Upton's married to fucking Justin Verlander.
And he doesn't have a price.
Yeah, like he's $50
No,
million
this
a
would
year.
have been before she was married.
Sure.
On the
it's
come
all-
up.
So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
only
yeah.
it's only any single woman on the planet.
I like that. Come up, Kate Upton.
And
Yeah.
also the whole idea of the celebrity party circuit. where you run into these ditties, where you end up with these Epsteins and his guys want, I have money, I should be happy, and the lengths they'll go to feel like they're in on it.
Where you run into these ditties.
Well, have you heard that I think Tupac and 50 and Kanye have all said Diddy's a Fed?
I've heard that before too.
And it plays into that whole thing about, hip hop being created by
The CIA. Yeah.
agencies and stuff. And so Bad Boy, like it's almost like a corny name.
But it would also explain why he's gone untouched for so long.
It's such a corny name.
And
Their music was so corny.
Everything was corny about him. He's the one rapper I never liked. I did like some of the Mace stuff. There's some good beats there, whatever. Take hits from the 80s, make him sound so crazy. I'm a sucker for that shit. But he's walking around like everything's all right now. And it really seems the idea is that those break-ins were people going to get their evidence. People were protecting themselves, not go after Diddy for what he's done to other people. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't seem like there's an outrage about it.
The throwing in the clip into the song of an already successful song,
Say that again. The throwing in of a clip.
like what Diddy did with what was that first one he did with Mace? There, it's
Can nobody hold me
Samples.
down?
no. It was like a fucking super famous song.
You know, you make me feel so good. You know, make me feel so good.
What?
Bad boy.
No, okay.
Can't stop, won't stop.
No, guys, it was a famous old song.
Yes.
He sang it. It was like the chorus to fucking...
Oh, Every Breath You Take?
Every breath you
Well,
take.
that wasn't with
Thank
Mace.
you.
Sorry, that was the...
Okay, I'm
My
sorry.
apologies.
I'm sorry.
That was true
That was
Diddy's
his tribute
tribute.
to Biggie.
That idea
Yeah.
of taking an already famous song, plugging it into your rap song to make it extra famous is a very CIA ish way to do things, right? Like these guys aren't very smart. They don't understand. Why don't we just take something that's already great and we'll put it in there and it'll make this great? That like all checks out to me.
Do you know that Sting gets $5,000 a day from Diddy for that song?
I've seen that. And do you know that Diddy is also a massive Democrat?
Makes sense. Adds up. Okay.
He was the one who was like rap the vote or...
That's a little weird, but okay. No, I guess
the
it
world
makes
is all
sense.
weird.
Maybe, kind of. No, but that all checks out to this CIA plant. That totally makes sense.
And he's a Fed. And that's
and,
why
and
nothing's
him
going to
having
happen
these
to him.
parties exactly like Epstein, and we know Epstein was working for the feds. Like it's all
And also why thus far everything's civil suit.
You got to ask yourself too, how does he get on a private jet and get out of the country just in time?
Apparently the jet went out of the country. He was not on it. There's so much, obviously, in these situations, disinformation, misinformation. No one knows what's going on. But it seems like there's just too much smoke. There was a weird part where they started having a side conversation, and I think they were messaging Angie Huberman to ask him if he minded if they discussed his situation.
interesting.
It was sort of interesting. Because in this...
I mean, that Huberman thing is bonkers. Even my mom said to me the other day, she's like, oh, so that guy is getting in a lot of trouble. I'm like, yo, just wait and let's see what happens before you.
But it's a thing.
He's not being accused of rape. He's being accused of being a philanthropist.
I'll never...
not a philanthropist.
I'll never forget it.
An adulterer.
After we did the episode with the mRNA guy,
Yeah.
with Joe, I said, if anything they said in that podcast is true, they're going to take out Joe. And the next day was all the N-word stuff. I swear I remember as well. So it's like parsing why this attack on him. What is he saying that's threatening pharmaceuticals or whatever? Mm-hmm. Then they told the crazy story about the guy who invented Zyklone Z.
Yep.
Who's Jewish.
Won the Nobel Prize and was charged for war crimes at the same
And
time.
the method of putting nitrogen in soil, which is the reason for the population explosion. It's just...
He was Jewish, but he was working for the Nazis?
yeah.
I don't
believe
think he
so.
was Jewish.
They said he was. So he had a bad life or a regret and just like this did not
Well,
work
this is
out.
the whole Oppenheimer story. Did you watch the movie?
Yeah, of course I
Oh, yeah. I thought they did a really good job of like showing this in the movie was that he was building this bomb because they were so afraid of what Hitler was going to do. And he was Jewish and he felt this like, he felt this, what's the fucking word? When you feel he was compelled to help his people in that way. And then they don't end up using it there. They use it in
Japan, yeah.
In Japan.
To scare the Russians.
For something totally different, yeah. And then they ask him to build a bigger bomb. And he's like, I just built you the biggest fucking bomb possible, you know?
Yeah.
And he had no interest in working on the atomic bomb because he was like, we're not fighting for the cause that I thought we were fighting for anymore.
Yeah.
It's just a weird
Sorry,
way
was
of...
that not what we were talking about? What were we
No,
talking
guys, you create something for one thing and it gets used for another.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Joe acknowledges that he does feel a weight with the stuff he says, with the amount of people are listening. Which
Does a good job of hiding it.
I think so. I think the money helps. And quote of the week was Andrew Schulz said, everything you want is on the other side of what you fear. And even if you face that fear and don't succeed, you have a feeling that you tried.
I
Then
wonder who he stole that from.
well, it's just, you've got to take some nuggets from successful people. Like he has no motivation to, but he's experienced, whenever I've tried to do something I fear, I've had success or I've come out better for it.
You want to know what the weird thing is? Here's the weird thing, okay? Back in the day, a comedian would like become popular. They'd work really hard. I'm not taking anything away from anybody. You work really hard, you grind it out, and you get to like the top of the comedy
Food chain.
Yeah. Now it's like you work really hard as a comedian and then you pivot a little bit and you go to the top of like the internet food chain. And it's almost like it's two different things at this point, but we're conflating them together as just this is a comedian succeeding. Does that make sense?
I know what you mean, yeah. It used to be that you succeeded based on your comedic merit solo.
Correct.
And just that and nothing else. And now it's like the algorithm that I mentioned earlier. You're not an artist. You're just trying to juke an algorithm
It's on the artist.
Your success is internet based and not so much comedic based.
Correct.
But you are still labeled a comedian because that is
And get the accolades of a comedian
The
at the
accolades.
top of his the accolades.
the problem is this,
at
Simon.
the comedian at the top of his game, and I'm just not sure we are giving the accolades to the right people anymore.
Well, the problem is this: is that the comedian label is at the top. Like he's a podcaster. Like comedians used to just do comedy. Maybe they wrote for a sitcom. Maybe they got into acting on a sitcom. That was like the goal that Joe always talks about. But that was it. It was like comedian, actor, maybe whatever, writer. Now it's like we forget that like podcasting is probably his main gig, or it's split with comedy, right? Like he tours doing comedy, but he probably makes, I bet, half his money off the podcast.
I bet they make a lot more than half the money off the podcast.
Either way, but you get what
Yeah,
I'm saying is
yeah,
like,
yeah,
so
yeah.
What you're saying is not necessarily true or false. He is a successful comedian. He does tour and sells out shows.
Yep.
But he's also a successful podcaster.
No. I just think that like in a normal world, Andrew Schulz he'd still be a great comedian, close to top, but not top. You know,
Like he might not have a special, is what you're saying. If he was in the 90s,
he'd have a special.
Would he?
Yeah, I think
the
he would.
90s
I think he's a pretty good comedian. I think he writes good jokes. I think he does good work. I think to mention him in the same breadth as like Bill Burr, or, you know what I mean? I think that's not the same. It's not the same. Bill Burr got famous from slugging it out that's not how Andrew Schulz got. I mean, it's different because the internet didn't even exist to the point it does now. So maybe he did. I don't know.
I think you actually strengthened my point too, is like Schulz really started off in broadcasting before comedy.
Well, he was always a stand-up. But
But he became
that helped
he
him
became
be a
famous.
comedian
He became
with
famous as a
Charlemagne the God.
broadcaster before he
On
became
the
famous as
Breakfast
a
Club.
comedian.
Yes, that's
Brilliant
yeah.
idiots.
Yeah.
Brilliant idiots, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I shouldn't get down on him. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to translate one thing into the other. That's, I guess it just annoys me because he's gotten so big for his britches. And I've stopped watching Flagrant, but I used to watch it, and it just got so annoying at the end. Like
At year end, because it's still going.
Listen, I don't wish him ill. I wish him all the success in the world. I'm just
think
not a
he's a big
huge
fat
fan.
phony.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, I think I got caught up in his like charm for a while, but in the end, I think I came back to the same place I was at the start,
Yeah.
which was just not my
Not your bag.
shtick, you know?
I'm with you.
And he seems old He is old. He's like almost 40, right?
Oh, easy, pal.
No, but I'm saying like that just, I don't know. Hanging out with Logan Paul, this 27-year-old kid, and trying to stay hip and fucking cool with the, you know? Like I heard him say no cap the other day. Like I'm pretty sure that's younger than him. You know what I'm saying?
Well, don't forget, we found out that no cap is a early 1900 saying.
Okay, fine. But listen, it didn't get put into the
I'm well aware,
lexicon
yes.
until a couple of years ago.
But Kamari tries to throw in he tries to shoehorn no cap in.
I can't. I mean, I'm still working on Finna. There's a whole bunch of stuff, but I just don't think of it. They talked about how hard the exercise of rebranding Twitter has been.
Well, come on. Yeah, of course it has been.
But with lots of things, rebranding is really, really difficult.
I see what he's doing here. I see what he's done. I see what he's doing here. That was fucking slick. That was very slick.
No, I agree.
Bait and switch. Quick bait and switch there. That was fucking wildly slick.
Did you see me look at like
Yeah, I was hip to your jive pretty much right away.
Oh, Jenny McCarthy was fucking hot. And that's another one of my example. If she had an OnlyFans when I was a kid with her, she's taking all my money.
No, back to my point. If she had been smart enough to bank a couple of sex vids from then, she could still have a bang on OnlyFans.
It was a different time. They just didn't know, but because it was her and Pamela Anderson, and Jenny McCarthy seemed just a little more
less trashy.
Yes, not so over the top voluptuous, and both of them like, what would you ever see a guy with me? But Jenny seemed like he had a chance, and then she dated Jim Carrey for a long time. That was a weird thing. I believe they got married.
Then she ended up dating Marky Mark's brother there,
Donnie
Shut
Wahlberg.
up.
Yeah.
Well, he was a new kid. Also super
Speaking
rich
of
off real
giant
estate.
boobs, dude, the breastfeeding on the internet on
I still haven't seen it.
on
It has yet to infect
Instagram
my.
is so funny because the women do this. Okay, they have the stupid fake baby. They pull out their giant milk jug of a tit. They put it
Kamar's
up.
like
to
happy
the,
as
they
shit
put it up to the fake baby at the same time, looking directly at the camera and smiling and nodding.
This
You know
is
what I
so
mean? Like
creepy.
everybody gets the fucking what's going on here except for Instagram.
Yeah, the algo
Have
can.
you looked at it?
Only in the little because I don't want it.
Because I found out the hard way what happens if you look at one of those videos.
You just get all of them.
You get all of them.
Well, you are probably pretty stoked about that.
No, I'm not. I didn't realize that was going to happen.
And then there's another thing that, again, haven't looked at, but shows up in my little squares where it's girls and they're pretending to jerk something off and their tits are just going up. That's like a total subcategory on Instagram.
What is going on with you guys' Instagrams?
No, this is what's happening out there, Matt.
No, I'm on Instagram. I haven't seen any of these breastfeeding or fugazi jerk off.
Remember
videos.
the sundress phase?
That I remember, yeah.
What was the sundress phase?
Remember I showed you that one where girls would be in like a sundress that was like literally a piece of see-through fabric and you could just see their lips dangling and like it was just enough to like.
Well, now they don't even have to do that anymore. They should have just known that had they had a fucking pretend baby on screen with them, they could have done pretty much whatever they wanted.
You know, Brian Simpson made a great point too, to go back to him, sorry, real quick. He made a great point to Joe where Joe was like Joe took a weird stance where he was like, well, in Texas just wants you to prove you're 18 to watch porn. And it's like, Joe, how are you so self-righteous that you are acting like you didn't jerk off to a Playboy or a Penta? What?
Don't you think we have to be mature and sort of do something about it?
What do you want to do? Kids are better at
Make
the
it
internet than
16
you.
Or something. I know Brian Simpson made a compelling case that it's not possible, but should we try? If we know this is damaging kids.
Maybe ID should be required.
Hold on.
And if I was 15, I'd be like, bloody hell, you're not going to do this.
But hold on, did jerking off to Penthouse really fuck you up as a kid?
It's not quite the same.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just not the same.
The amount of things you can see on the internet versus the one or two pages.
And those
you would
magazines
end
were
up
only
with.
supposed to be sold to an 18-year-old.
I know, but we all got our hands on them.
And there was no penetration. That's really the
What are you
big.
talking about? Penthouse had penetration. Are you fucking
But
nuts?
I lived with a Playboy for 3 months. Like it
Penthouse
wasn't
had
like I had
penetration, yeah.
500 Playboys and I looked at 50 Playboys a day and until I figure out like.
Dude, I have the funniest story.
This is what I hear people do.
I have the funniest story. This kid that lived down the street from me one day, he was like, yo, I have like a ton of nudie mags that I have to get out of my house. Do you want them? And I was like, Well, I guess I only have 2, and I've been jerking off to them for like 3 years. So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll give them all a tug and I'll toss them out. I go to his house, dude. He gives me, like, remember your Tiggy's bags? They were Tiggy's bags, by the way. 3 full. I was like, what the fuck is this?
Stuck together.
So I run down a block to my house and I stash them in my room. And I'm not kidding you. The very next day, my mom finds this fucking pile of pornography and thinks I'm some deviant. And I honestly was like, I haven't even jerked off to one of them yet. And she just thinks I'm this fucking wild. That's the world we lived in, by the way. They had to steal fucking skin mags. If you were lucky, you found your dad's like VHS porno that he had stashed. What a world we lived in.
It was a better time. And I just think it's responsible. Like that guy was talking about restricting social media to 14-year-olds or no phones in school. And if everyone has to serve that, then they will abide.
Sure, but what again? So you think that no one should jerk off till they're 18 or see pornography till they're 18? I'm just curious. Like, if
I think they should have restricted access to it.
What if on the computer there was like a scanner and you had to scan your ID to get through? So just hear me out. Scans that you're of age to watch porn. If you really want to watch the porn, you're going to get a fake ID like you did with buying beer or whatever, buying weed now. You'll need a fake ID to get in.
A fake ID won't work.
It feels counterintuitive.
It will work.
How? You're scanning it. A scanned ID won't work. Fake ID doesn't work that way. Fake ID.
No, you'll have to use somebody else's ID. You'll have to get your hands on somebody else's ID.
So I just want to get this straight. You want I just want to get this straight.
I'm just
you
suggesting an
You want a
option.
private company to be able to scan your ID so you can masturbate to porn?
I mean, th're already getting all the information
Sure,
they want
but
from
I'm just
you.
curious.
What are you afraid they're going to get from your ID that they're not getting from your web address?
I'm just trying to play this out. So you to protect the kids, you want every adult to provide identification to be able to masturbate to pornography.
Okay, is it that big a deal? If you're of age, it's not that big a deal.
I don't want to give Pornhub my ID.
You're already giving them your ID.
No, I am
yes,
not.
You
Yeah, the
are
second you
through
press
your
play, they know.
website.
The
yes.
second you press play, they've got to know who you
Matt,
are.
I'm not trying to
Simon?
be
If
facetious,
it's
but
free,
100%.
if it's free, right? If
They
it's
are
free.
getting your information.
Really? They have my driver's license number from
I'm
that?
sure they do.
Okay.
I
I'm
don't know they know
sure
that.
they
though.
do.
I don't know they know that.
So again, you're one of those protect the kids at all costs, give up all your freedoms. Porno's killing kids for sure. It's a detriment to them.
I'm not
Kamar
sure.
grow up the biggest deviant on earth.
Make the bus free.
I'm not sure it's that big a deal to have to show your ID to have things that should be age gated. Right now, we just take people's word for it. I'm not sure that's the end of the world. We look at it crazy now because you're like, you can't take my freedoms away. But you're getting this shit for free. And all you have to do is prove that you're of age to make sure that some of the information getting out isn't getting out into the heads of tiny children.
Look at the disgust.
Well, he's such a weird
I want
Puritan here.
8-year-olds to jerk off as soon as they fucking can, and I want
Okay.
them
No,
to
you see what you
jerk
do?
off to
You
anything.
see what you just did? You just went the Christian conservative
Of
route,
course
right
it-
away to the
it
deviant.
doesn't
'Cause,
work.
yeah,
It doesn't work, but it just seems like the responsible thing to do. That's all I'm saying.
We're saying the same thing with this AI thing. Oh, we can't put regulation on. You want more regulation? Yes, I want someone to make sure that we don't destroy ourselves.
there's a difference. We want some regulation in AI.
Okay, so I'm not saying you need to, I'm not telling you to make porn disappear.
Yeah.
I'm just suggesting that we maybe find a way to not mainstream it into the heads of 9-year-olds.
Okay, so again,
I don't
you
understand
haven't-
why that's
you
such
haven't
a big
offered
deal.
you haven't offered anything up other than adults providing their full identification to a website.
Okay, so I didn't say it was the perfect plan, but it's an option. I haven't heard you give any. You're just like, let them do whatever they want.
Well, yeah, I think social media is a bigger detriment than free porn.
I
Because
think
again,
they're one and the same.
I think so.
They're
I think
just
one and the same.
totally tied up in each other.
I think
There
you-
is
hold
porn-
on, you
There's
stop.
women with the big tits milking the babies on
Listen.
TV, man, on Instagram.
Kamar,
fooling who,
you are
right?
without a doubt the biggest hypocrite on earth. You are exactly the problem with the world. You are.
He would show his ID. He doesn't care. He knows he's given it away a million
It has
times to a
nothing-
million different porn
It
sites.
has nothing to do with that. It's the point that he grew up. I bet you jerked off to porn when you were like 9.
No, I was an imagination guy.
Okay.
I rarely had magazines. I was sheltered, man.
So let me ask
Come
you
on,
that.
we
Hold
would
on,
just
hold on,
use
wait.
Vogue magazine.
wait.
We didn't even
No,
need
no.
a porno.
Let me actually back this up.
As soon as I could
Hold on.
masturbate to porn on computers, I ruined many with viruses.
Okay, it's
So
fine.
I made up for lost time.
Hold on. I want to back up
But
though,
as a
Simon.
kid-
So you're going on Instagram right now and you're seeing borderline porn.
Yeah.
And
Which
that's
I think should be removed 100%.
okay, but it's not.
But it should be like here
hold on, wait,
for
why?
months now. These women have just been pulling their tits out, and everybody's like, "Oh, we just don't see it."
I don't get it though. You're an adult. You think that the tits should be removed from?
I think if my son was 9 years old and scrolling through Instagram, I don't want him watching fake babies being milked.
Yeah, then you shouldn't get your son a phone. See, it's
parenting.
see. This is the problem. Is we do this thing where instead of taking fucking any responsibility, we are like, let's protect all the kids by ruining everything for us adults, and I think that's fucking crazy.
We've been through this though. Joe has talked about it a million times. It ends up being that everybody's social life has moved to these devices. So if you take yours away or don't provide one for your kid, they're not talking to anybody. I don't know.
No,
man.
the guy 2 weeks ago
am a
said
hypocrite.
the guy
I
2
have no
weeks ago
problem with
said
that.
if they got rid of phones from schools, the kids don't give a shit.
If everybody loses their phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if half the kids still have phones, then you have haves and have nots. This is basic. I mean, we don't need to argue this because that happens.
Yeah. Raising a kid is tough. I agree. I would be the first to tell you that. You
Again-
should actually be the first to tell us because you've raised one.
I just think that, and as a guy who has raised a kid who grew up in the social media time, or at least the beginning of it, I don't think it would have been bad to have some safeguards in place.
Okay.
Like that would have probably done us a hell of a lot of good not to have free porn like that
When did you first smoke weed?
grade 9?
Shouldn't have been allowed.
That's weird because there's a lot of safety things in place that would allow you to not smoke weed in grade 9.
But you might be better off had you not smoked weed in grade
somehow
9.
Simon found a way to get weed and smoke it in his house.
I think grade 9 is fine to smoke weed. I don't
Okay,
think
well, hold on,
9
though.
years
No,
old
stop.
is fine to be watching
You're
porn.
thinking-
But
He's
wait,
got a
so
false
why?
equivalency going
who
on here?
said 9? Because you made up 9. I didn't say 9. I'm talking about
grade
a
9.
16-year-old.
It was grade 9 to smoke weed.
Okay, well, either way, that's 12 years old. No, stop. That's 13 years old. Okay, so you think it's okay for a 13-year-old to smoke weed?
I don't think it's okay.
I just like to hear this
I
on the
did.
record.
No, I don't think it's okay for a 13-year-old to smoke weed.
But you just said it. You just said it. You said it was fine.
I said
you
I
thought it
did
was
it.
for
I
you.
did it.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it was fine. I probably should have waited until I was 16.
I know. My point remains that there were safeguards in place.
What were those safeguards?
Marijuana is illegal. You will go to jail for possessing it. No, but I'm just curious.
okay.
You want to provide ID for a website. You think that's a big enough safeguard? I'm telling you that you could have gone to jail for possessing marijuana. You still did it and smoked it. It didn't stop you as a kid.
Okay.
So what makes you think that even if we put these safeguards in
But
place,
those safeguards did scare me up until a certain point. Until I became...
until 12 or 13?
Is 13 when we go into grade 9? That
Correct.
seems really early. It's not 13. That
It
you
is
go into
13.
grade 9.
No,
No, it's
you're
not.
you're 14 because you're 12 is grade 6 and then
Hey Siri, how old is a person in
it's
grade
7 and 8
9?
is 13, 14.
It's not 13.
12 to 13.
12 to 13, yeah. It's 13. Grade 9. Grade 8, grade 8,
Well, that would be 1 year less.
grade 6 I guess you're 11.
But you see my point. Listen, all I'm trying
But
to say,
you think
Simon,
11-year-olds shouldn't be smoking pot.
no, I don't. I also don't think 11-year-olds should be watching porn.
And that's
Okay,
on the responsibility
but-
of the parents.
Okay.
What I'm saying, Simon, is this. Just because I think a kid shouldn't be watching porn. Like, here's another good example. What you just did was you used 9. You went to an egregious age. A 16
No, he
year
said grade 9 and we guys
No,
got
I
mixed
didn't.
up.
I
No, he
said
said
9 years old.
My bad. It's
We're
that
talking
bad.
about children watching porn. When do you think
Smoke
kids
weed.
start watching porn?
Not
Now,
at 9.
Today. Well, they fucking 100% do.
Okay, fine. So some do. But again, if a kid lost his virginity at 12, does that mean that every kid lost his virginity at 12?
No, my point is, Matt, when we were kids, you had to go out and find porn. You don't have to do that anymore. You
Okay.
simply go onto your parents' computer.
Yeah.
You type in boobies.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, you're inundated with
Okay.
so much porn you don't even know what to do with. And when you start watching that porn, it starts feeding you all sorts of other weird things. So you started looking for boobies and you ended up watching people get trains run on them. I think that there is probably a way for us to keep young kids away from that.
See, that the porn I grew up with, they were getting trains run on them. I don't know. Like,
Well, that's not the porn I started with. The porn I started with was we were happy to see two people fucking. We watched Bleu Nuit, man. We watched a lot of nothing, you know?
okay, but I still don't understand. I'm very lost. Like a 16-year-old.
I don't care about the 16-year-olds. They can do whatever the fuck they want.
Okay, but you see what I'm saying
So
here
they
is like,
take their ID, they scan it into the computer, whatever age it is that you decide that's the
Well, it's
proper
18.
age. But it doesn't have to be for porn.
But right now it's 18.
Maybe porn is a 13-year-old age. I don't know. But there need to be some safeguard. Now there's nothing.
Movies are
13-year-olds don't have
restricted
ID.
or have age restrictions.
They did.
They do.
13-year-olds don't have
But you can sneak
ID.
into a movie.
Okay, if everybody could have some form of ID.
So you want kids that are 13 to go to get an ID just so they can jerk off to
No,
internet
just
porn?
if you're going to make ID essential to get into these things, then just make sure everybody has ID. Maybe it's built into your thumb.
I think
Matt,
what it
and
does
just
is, and you're
reads
right.
your fucking thumb.
What you mentioned PG rated movies, 13?
14. It's 14. Adult accompaniment.
So you had to be with an adult, right? So again,
So
it's
you
a
have to
weird
watch porn at 14 with an adult.
With your parent.
Well, I'm just saying, like, it's a weird. But think about what you did. We said this movie's you can't see this movie alone, but if you have an adult with you, you can see this
Matt,
stuff.
I
That's a
100%
weird.
understand what you're saying.
These were safeguards we put in for what we understood at the time. Movies were just coming out into big whatever, lots of people going to see them, and they wanted to make sure.
Did you ever
that
show your son an
some
R-rated film?
9-year. That was something
Bad
I
dad.
decided to do. It wasn't something that the internet decided to do.
No.
That's
The internet. First of all, the
difference.
internet doesn't decide anything. The internet is
certainly does.
No, it does not.
Yes, it does. Because if you go on and you are just part of a normal algorithm, it doesn't even know who you are going to see women breastfeeding fake babies.
I don't have that on my feed.
You just haven't noticed it yet.
No, this is what you don't realize. You two are degenerate tit guys.
No.
Okay, yes, both of you are.
Enough.
Kamar,
Fine, that's
Kamar
fine.
can admit it.
I'm not.
You can't. I get it.
I have no
okay?
problem with
Yeah, I
anything
know.
you're saying.
I know. What I'm saying though is because you guys are degenerate
You
tit
want me
guys.
to just go, you know what? There's no way they could possibly ever regulate porn. I think it's just like
Why are you so against any form of regulation?
I'm not. We know that I'm not. What I'm saying is this form of regulation will not work. It is a waste of time and it'll chip away at your freedoms. You specifically
that's
hate
why you're
when
right.
they chip away
That's
at
why
your
you're
freedoms.
right. But I feel as a 50-year-old guy, the kids should be watching porn and there should be something.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it. I know it's not going to happen, but if I was the king of the world, I'd do it. And then you would say,
Thank you.
come on,
Thank
you ruined everything.
If I was the king of the world,
Yeah.
if I was the king of America and I was making rules, I would start implementing some rules that
Everyone's got to wear their underwear outside their clothes.
That's the first thing he'd do for sure. I have to watch every animal.
I've
fuck.
got to know what kind of panties you're rocking.
Look, I just go back to it that I think we do this thing. Everyone does this. Okay, this is as old as time. People do stuff when they're kids. They grow up. They grow up fine, by the way, by and large. And then when they get older, they're like, the kids can't do that stuff I did. I fucked up and I knew it was bad. But in reality, you grow up to be a normal, somewhat upstanding citizen.
if I had the internet when I was growing up,
Yeah.
I don't think I would have turned out to be a normal person. I think I would have ended it. I have a
You think you got lucky? You dodged a bullet just
addictive
some time.
personality, and had I had all of these things at my fingertips all the time, I think I would have broken myself.
You don't know.
We don't know. We don't know.
We don't know.
Like there's a world sign where the internet came along when you were a kid and you're a billionaire now.
Yeah.
I mean, if
Share the
there
wealth,
are
fuck.
multiple worlds,
Just-
then that is
but
a
just-
possibility, Matt.
I'm just saying this is like for every kid that has a porn addiction or a porn problem, there's a kid out there making $1 million off the internet that you want to like shut down and
I don't want to shut down. We're talking about porn, okay?
sure.
Let's talk about driving for a second, okay? So they invent cars and freeways.
Mm-hmm.
They also invent rules that go along with it because left to our own devices, if you just let everybody out there, no rules, no nothing, you're just going to have people smashing into each other all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So for the sake of our cities and countries surviving, we put these rules in place. We
And
have
people
done
still die
sure,
all the time.
but way less. If you didn't have a age requirement for driving and you just had 12-year-olds out on the road, you'd have a lot more fucking accidents.
What about the cities that have pretty much no driving rules?
They still have driving rules. Even the ones that have no rules, the Autobahns,
Yeah. No, I'm not talking about the Autobahn. I'm talking like you go to like Bangladesh. There's no lines. There's no fucking.
there's no, I'm sure there are a lot of fucking accidents.
Yeah,
and even they probably have a minimum age requirement for driving.
My point. Okay. I still don't know where you're going.
So that's just the legislation we put in to make sure that people stay safe when they're doing the
Can't
things
you be
that
like,
they're
I see
doing.
what you guys are saying, but I'm positive it won't work.
I said that 6 times.
So that's where we're at.
My problem, though, like I said, is
peace
Simon
with it.
keeps going to this egregious. He's like, you want 6-year-olds to be masturbating to women getting trains run on them. And that's absolutely not what I'm fucking saying. What I'm saying is very simple. The three of us grew up with some form of pornography. You might agree or disagree with me that it has the same or no effect, or that it has a way worse effect. What I'm saying is that we all grew up with porn, and we're all tax-paying, upstanding citizens.
I disagree with that. I'm not really paying taxes.
And also we're not we're not talking about us. We're talking about a new generation that has access to 100 times, 1,000, 1,000,000 times
And our
the amount.
Our parents said the same things.
What about scary movies?
What about them?
You got to be 18 to watch a scary movie, and you think that's all right? I mean, if someone gets around it, but you don't think a kid should watch a scary movie?
Kamar, when Pulp Fiction came out, it was rated R, and I was not 18. And I went and stole Pulp Fiction from HMV, and I watched it at home alone when my parents weren't home.
It's more the idea the person knows it's not real. Like, there's a certain age where a kid would think that porn is like just, I don't know. and I don't want to fight with you, so I get it.
But
Let's move on.
I grew up, my dad had a black box. So after 11 p.m., all the pay-per-view channels just played porn.
Super
So like
sex.
I grew up with real porn. Like from the age of like 11 or 12, I grew
I
up.
mean, goddamn, if a kid is born
Exactly,
today,
yeah.
he's going to
Can't
grow
enjoy
up
the same
with
thing,
that
yeah.
kind of porn.
No, I'm just saying, when I look at it, I'm not like, oh my God, that was a real detriment to my fucking
Maybe
youth.
you're 2 years away from that turn, and you'll look at it different. You change, or maybe you'll stick to it. In any event, Andrew Schulz, you guys don't like him. I like him. He provided for a great discussion.
What do you like about him?
The 4 hour.
Yeah, what do you like about
That
it?
Yeah,
I remember.
let's get to the bottom
I
of this.
remember hearing him on Guys We Fucked. He was a nobody.
Yeah.
Absolute nobody.
Okay.
He started talking about his plan
Okay.
to be successful at comedy. These girls at the time were way bigger celebrities than he was.
Okay.
And they're sort of like, oh, that's so cute. You're going to try that. And he's achieved everything he said he was going to do. And now if he's stabbed people along the back the whole way and it's unscrupulous, I don't know that. I see him as a model or someone to follow, like inspiration-wise.
I don't think he's unscrupulous towards his peers. I don't see him as that type of guy. I think maybe he's like transferring this way of doing business that the YouTube guys use into comedy, and it seems dirty because it's like almost calling us stupid. It feels
It's why
that
we
way.
don't enjoy Bert Kreischer.
It feels that way. Yes, exactly.
It just feels like pandering. A lot of it
But-
feels like
but-
pandering.
But I think that's
Straw man that for me, Matt. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
exactly.
that just feels fucking gross.
Lastly, I just wanted to say one of the discussions they had, which really has to be remembered, is Joe took a huge risk. The Carlos thing, they took Carlos's side. He could have never recovered again.
You can't take that away from Joe. He took a huge risk. He went in there, he put his name on the line, and everybody turned on him.
And he ended up where we are now.
Yeah. So
yeah, but that's partly why he's here where he
Yeah,
is now.
I
In
get-
my opinion,
yeah,
I think the Mencia thing
through-
played a great
through
deal of.
necessity.
Yeah,
Because he had lost everything.
I get it, but I'm just saying that because he made that stand
Yep.
and because he came out on the other end, it made him that much bigger. And
It all turned out the way it turned out because of that. It doesn't mean that he wasn't treated wrongly.
of course, no, I'm not saying that at
But
all.
he even said, I wish I hadn't done that.
I don't think he actually
the
feels
way
that
it all
way.
played out.
I don't think he feels that way.
Again, I think if you look closer, he would never have had this.
He could look at it that way, but he just said that it's not.
It's a weird thing. I can't ever imagine, and again, I'm a different person. I'm not Joe. I can't ever imagine me regretting standing up for myself. I can't imagine that.
He wasn't
And
even
Joe
standing
is
up
a
for
very
himself. He's standing up for other guys.
sure, but Joe's a very
I can see it, Matt. If you stand up for yourself and you don't really have to, and you lose everything, you might feel righteous.
And at the time,
in the
I
moment,
bet he was like,
but-
this is going to go
sorry.
viral and I'm going to get a podcast. It's all going to work out.
Sorry, Simon. How about this? Being in his position, 10 years removed, I can't see myself being
It turned out it was a
regretful
really good thing.
Oh no.
for standing up for myself. I
Yeah.
understand if you're on the other side and you've lost everything because of it and you're driving a limo again. I can understand having a little bit of regret. I'm saying where he is now, I could not see
In
myself.
retrospect.
Yeah.
But at the time, he was regretting it. Like, I did it. I've had to do it, but I don't think this worked out well because I'm losing everything and I don't know what's going to happen.
It also makes me think, like, his reverence for Mitzi. Like, again,
Because
Joe's
she
not,
supported Carlos.
Joe's not me. I never let that shit go. Like, the person I am, I never would have played the Comedy Store again. I wouldn't hang a picture of Mitzi. I wouldn't name my fucking bar after
Dude,
her.
I agree 1000%. I think it's so crazy. I mean, it just shows what a big guy.
Yeah,
Joe
all the power
is,
to him. I'm
really.
giving him his
Like,
flowers
yeah.
for sure. I don't have that
'Cause
in
I
me.
could never do
no
that.
way.
No.
That's what's about.
Her
Every once
photo
in
would have a
while, we gotta
mustache
give
painted on it.
multi-millionaire some flowers.
I give Joe his flowers often. I don't agree with him all the time. I think he is where he should be. He's worked very hard. His success is earned.
I don't think I successfully articulated why I like Andrew Schulz, but I'll give
No,
this
you
podcast a 3.
Oh, I give this one 2 at best. It was too long and it was too like Andrew, just like, again, the pandering. Like, the weird thing to me is like, dude, Joe already likes you. You don't have to play this game with him. You can just
I don't
show
think
up and
we
like,
understand the dynamics of these.
you're
He's
probably
not
right.
playing it for Joe.
Playing it for us.
He's thinking so far ahead.
5D
of
chess.
What does this do? What are these clips going to look like? What do I want them to look like?
no, you're right. Yeah.
This is the new me. I don't know. It feels inauthentic.
You see something.
And I mean, maybe it's like, listen, you're a dad. Maybe it's just that new dad feeling where like, it's just, I think the thing is this, if you meet a new dad on the street and he's not famous and he's just gushing over his new baby,
I still find that gross.
no, I probably do too. But what I'm saying is you as a dad, you might understand it a little more, but where it's on this platform, it just seems extra greasy and like you're just trying to, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
You got to rate it.
I give it a 2.
All right, that's an episode. If you made it this far, thank you so much. Maybe you're willing to go a step further. If you want to support the show, you can head over to patreon.com/JREE podcast. You can support the show for as little as $5 a month. For that $5, you get the post show. It's the show after the show we shoot the shit. And you'll also get old episodes of some other stuff we did. And that's really it. Other than that, we hope you guys have a great week. We hope you enjoy your weekend. And as usual,
Keep your eyes open.